everyone, old school Pokemon here. I'm back again with the PokeFlipz podcast, episode number 46, joined by my usual co-host, Catch 'em All Collectibles. And today we have a special guest joining us, RetroSpecs Nick. How are you guys doing today?
Very well.
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. And for anyone who's unfamiliar, Nick will give a little bit of an intro into who he is and what he does. And anyone who wants to check out his channel or Instagram, it's linked in the description below. So be sure to check that out. Give him a like, sub, ring that bell, all that good stuff.
Yeah, appreciate it. So yeah, Nick, RetroSpecs. I need to get into a more consistent content schedule as far as the YouTube stuff goes. I try to post like on Instagram a decent amount, but yeah, man, just big fan of Japanese cards. Do a little bit of everything, but I would say like the main focus is definitely Japanese Pokemon. But I enjoy other stuff too, like Dragon Ball Z, and getting a little bit into Yu-Gi-Oh recently. So yeah, that's about it.
And I have noticed, well, we've got two Nicks here, and both of them are a little like not the greatest with regular YouTube upload content. I have noticed you're coming around though with some semi-frequent, semi-regular shorts on your end.
Yeah, well, the shorts, it was crazy, man. Like I did a couple of shorts that were just like really easy to make. Like I opened there's like a new Panini product that it's a Mario, like Super Mario World, and the movie is coming out and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'll get some of this to kind of open and grade it out. So I just made like a video of me like going through the cards that I was gonna grade and like put some Mario music in the background. It was like super easy, probably took like 2 or 3 minutes to make, and it got like 6,000 views, which for me is like an insane amount because most of my stuff gets like 200 or 300. So I was like, oh, okay, well, if I can just kind of like flip through some stuff I think looks cool and like low effort. Obviously, like I don't always want to do just like low effort content, but the payoff, I guess, was like really big for just showing like a stack of cool cards or whatever. So
yeah, it's a very sharp turn from this kind of content, long form content, 2-3 hour videos that make you really think. A lot of people like watching content with their brain turned off after a long day of work or after what, and they just want to be entertained. So it's like cool Mario cards that I've never seen before to Mario music. Like I understand the appeal of that content. Like I very much like this kind of content a lot more. But I totally get why that, because same for me, like I'm trying to do weekly shorts right now, and it just makes sense why that content excels. Plus, you can watch 600 of those videos in the time that you can watch like one podcast.
Well, and it's kind of like baiting people into a payoff, like a little bit, you know what I mean? Kind of like the same way you do with a thumbnail, but with a short, because people's attention span is, so short, like they'll stick around for the 10 or 15 seconds. So like the gold star one you did where like it slowly turns around and then you get the payoff at the end, like you get to see what the joke is, like what your favorite gold star is, or like the one where you turn around with the mask on. Like people will sit and watch through that entire thing because they want to see, like the punchline or what the card's going to grade or whatever the case may be. So, and like you said, you can get through a lot of those short, sort of like mindless, quick entertainment hit videos than watching like a 3-hour podcast. So I get it, but I enjoy the deep stuff too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think with that little intro, we'll just hop right into the questions. I think we did have 5 or 6 of them from the last one. As always, we're gonna fall way behind the live chat. Probably we'll do what we can, but we will start with the questions from last episode left in the comments, and then we will work our way towards hanging out with the chat. And Nick, at any point, both Nicks, at any point, if there's any topic that comes up for you that you want to talk about, we can just do our own thing a little bit here and there too. So with that, the first question that comes from last episode, SDC asks, what is the best way in America to buy a large amount of Japanese Pokemon cards, boxes, and singles? Bai is a thing. I have a video on how to use Tenso. So there's Tenso, there's Bai, there's these websites like AmiAmi. eBay is a thing as well. I think a lot of times people have a warped perception of what buying Japanese product is, almost as if there's some mythical land of you just buy stuff for $5 and then flip it into the US market for $100. I mean, with grading, with the aid of grading and really being knowledgeable and experienced and doing a lot of digging, that does exist, but it's not just like there and easy and obvious. If you're talking about like buying single booster boxes, maybe up to 10, 20 booster boxes, honestly, and this may not be the answer most people want to hear, just buying on eBay, shipped from Japan, buying from a high feedback seller who clearly is doing the right thing. Like maybe you're paying $1 or $2 more a box, maybe $5 more a box, but a lot of times like the cost time benefit is just swings in that favor. You really kind of got to know someone. Like when you mention large amount, that's very relative. I don't know if by large amount you mean 100 boxes or 10. So if you're talking 100 boxes, you kind of need to know someone. And that's not really a satisfying answer either, but you just gotta get involved in the community. You gotta reach out to sellers. You gotta like try to establish a relationship. And there's no like shortcut. There's no easy way for that, unfortunately. I think that's largely my answer. Anything to add, Retro?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like definitely where a lot of the premium comes in. Like there is no mythical land. Like obviously you can find websites like you were talking about, like Ami sometimes will come up with pre-orders, and if you can get in, like you can get V-Star Universe boxes for MSRP or like really close to MSRP. They do a lot of like stuff like that with Weiss too. I know there's like another website called like there's like Plaza Japan, there's Hammer Girl Anime. So there's a lot of options for that. As far as like booster boxes go, I do remember when they were just kind of slamming VMAX Climax with reprints, and there were boxes that you could get that got down to maybe like $37-$38 a box, but that was buying like 40 at a time. You know what I mean? So you would have had to buy like 40 at a time. You would get this pricing, but then you're going to turn around and probably end up paying like maybe $100 in shipping. So if you're buying 40 at a time, you know, you got to factor in that extra like $2.50 per box or whatever. You're still getting it for a good deal, but you're not going to get it for like so crazy below eBay, I guess. And like you said, a lot of the time the Japanese sellers on eBay, especially for modern, kind of like are already going to give you a pretty decent price, you know, like and you have to understand too that like these boxes are hot in Japan. Like right now, V-Star Universe boxes are not going for like $30-$40 or anywhere close to MSRP in Japan. Japanese people want these boxes, you know, and are paying premiums to open these boxes too. So that's something you have to factor in. Now, if it gets like slammed with reprints, then like that's a good time to look at maybe picking up you know, not financial advice, but look at getting the best entry point to pick up boxes. Like I said, VMAX Climax got down to like $38 to like $42 depending on the quantity. And obviously like that price on that box has ticked back up. But yeah, sorry for the rant, but yeah, that's pretty much, I guess, all I have to add.
Yeah, I would echo what you guys said. I don't buy much Japanese product at all. I've tried using Bai once before, and I was way too confused by it. So whenever I do, if I ever do buy Japanese, it's always just eBay, and then someone that I know in Japan. I forget his Instagram name. But I know he watches the podcast. So if you want to comment your Instagram name when you actually watch this in the comments, you can feel free to do that.
You want to take that next question?
Oh, sure. Hold on one second. So next question, Wreck-It Roush. Hi guys, I am putting together a first edition jungle binder set. For the hollows, I have been buying PSA, CGC 6 to 8 cards and cracking the slabs. If you were putting together a WotC binder set, what grade of card would you go for? Would you consider PSA 5 too low, a PSA 9 slab too high to open? So that's his first question. So for this one, I built binder sets way back in the day, like 2016 through 2018. And at the time, cards were a lot cheaper back then, and you could find raw mint cards fairly easily. So when I was building binder sets, it was always like 8 to 9 range. There were a few 7s as well in there. I've since graded those cards, and for the most part, it was like mainly 8s and 9s, and then there were a handful of 7s as well. But if I were to build binder sets now, I would probably do something like what you're doing. Probably go for like the 6 to 7 range. Cheaper hollows, probably an 8 range as well. I wouldn't go anything higher than that for binder sets, just because the cards are getting really expensive, and if they're just sitting in a binder anyway, you're not going to really notice like a difference between an 8 and a 9. Most of the difference is probably going to be on the back of the card, where if it's in a binder, you're not going to see the back of the card. But at the same time, I would also consider PSA 5 and below. I would consider that to be too low for me personally. Just because once you get into like the 5 and below range, then you can like really start to notice issues with the front of the card. So I would do exactly what you're doing. Stick with the PSA CGC 6 to 8 range. Try and find raw cards when you can, but there's definitely some good opportunity with buying graded cards, cracking them out, because really there's not a huge market for those low graded cards. Not a ton of people want to add those types of grades into their graded card collection. So that's what I would say for that one. And then the second question, what website resources do you use to check Pokemon card pricing? For me personally, eBay and TCGPlayer is what I use. Mainly eBay completed sold listings, and then if I'm looking up like modern cards, I just use TCGPlayer. Look at whatever the low list price is for that grade. How about you guys?
Well, I'm not super into the WotC, but just generally what I would say, like, you could probably find pretty good condition card, like buying the slabbed in lower grades versus buying like raw near mint on eBay, because you can make like a 6 or a 7 look good on eBay, you know. And it might, so but you might be paying a premium, or someone might be charging a premium because they're making it look like an 8 or a 9. So if you buy like a CGC 8.5 that it's already graded, the seller is probably going to take like the brunt of the loss there just because of the market value, and you can probably get like a decent condition card, or a card in the condition that you're looking for not much of a premium above raw, or maybe even like in some cases like in a 6 or a 7, I imagine it might even be like below raw. So like there is opportunity there. And then with like PSA 5s and 6s, sometimes the card will be mint and just have like the tiniest dent that you can't even see anyways on the back. And, you know, the hollow looks great, the card's centered well. So if you're just going to stick it in a binder anyways, like you can probably find like a 6 or a 7 that's really good condition, you know? So like maybe that's something to look forward to, but I guess that's about all I have to add.
Yeah, I was going to cover what Retro said. Me personally, and I know you mentioned Jungle specifically, but I think Masaki cards all day long. Give me a Masaki card with an indent on the back that I can't even see from the front in my binder as a PSA 6 over like a PSA 7 or PSA 8 that has whitening or hollow scratches or is way off center. So part of this is like a personal thing. What do you value in your cards? What do you value eye appeal wise? Like I never take my cards out of my binder. I flip through the pages. I don't pull them out and look at the back for whitening. So to me, like the optimal place to be is having those issues on the back and just finding the best value. Scooping up cards like that, PSA 6, PSA 7 at auction, you can definitely get really good buys at times. Well cheaper, oftentimes, under what like Troll and Toad near mint or TCGPlayer near mint will be. So very much on the same page as these guys. Websites, resources, old school covered. eBay covers a huge portion of it. I do a little bit of Pokedata. I do a little bit of Pokemon Price, but eBay usually has me covered. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Celebi Collectibles. Question for next podcast. Will Dan paint his beard white for Christmas? I don't know if I'll go that hard into the Christmas spirit, but we'll have to see. And Celebi asked, do you guys have any fun plans for holidays? Me personally, family, football, beer. It is actually, Christmas is on a Sunday, so I think they'll have like a full slate of regular games. It'll just be way too much food, a moderate amount of alcohol, and good times with good people, family and friends. So those are my main plans. I'm definitely intending to, I'm not going to like shut down my eBay. I'm going to do my daily shipments till Monday to Fridays, but I'm going to try to like take it a little easy. I've got some office renovations I want to do. No like major moves I'm making. I'm going to be doing a little bit of like winter cleaning around the office, just trying to tidy things up and get ready for hopefully a big 2023 personally.
How about you, Nick?
So I'm stopping my consignment auctions. This Sunday is going to be the last auction that ends, so I'll have a few weeks off from auctions, which will be, I'm actually looking forward to that. That'll be really nice. So looking forward to that. And then Christmas, same thing, just hanging out with the family, which will be really nice. I did just buy a PlayStation 5. So super excited to take some time off and actually play that. It's been a long time since I've played any video games, so that'll be fun right there. And I've actually been thinking about shutting down my eBay store like that week between Christmas and New Year's, just to kind of take a week off. That's usually a pretty slow time anyway. So I might do that just to not have to worry about shipping stuff out and have some time off and be able to focus on getting caught up with all of my how much I made each month. I'm way behind on all of that, so thinking about doing that. Not quite sure yet. See. How about you, Retro? Any big plans?
Nothing too crazy. I did just recently get ESPN Plus, and so I've been watching the Seattle Kraken. It's like our new hockey team or whatever, and they've actually been doing pretty good this year. So I was never really into hockey before, but we got a team and I started watching it, and I actually really enjoy it. So probably just hanging out. I mean, I like watching football too, but yeah, definitely will be watching some hockey this holiday season.
Hockey's awesome. I've actually contemplated closing down my eBay. Like if I were to close my eBay down for a week, it would be this week. I'm getting way too many messages like, "Hey, can you guarantee this to get to me by Christmas?" And I know I'm going to be getting them. Like today, it's not a huge deal. It's probably going to happen. I have the remainder of this week, all next week. I ship every day. But when I start getting those messages on the 21st, the 22nd, that's when I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be bad. They're like, I have first class shipping. USPS gets slammed that final week, and it just, every year it's inevitable. I get a couple unhappy people because they waited till the last second and it arrives a day or two after Christmas. No fault of my own, because I hit my estimated shipping date and all that, and that's always a little minor annoyance around the holidays for me personally.
They'll order the night of the 24th.
Yeah.
Hey, can I get this for Christmas?
Have you shipped this yet?
Like a $30 item, and they're like, "Can you ship this priority?" It's like, no.
I won't pay more, but can you ship this priority? It is Christmas, you know. We got a question. Should only flippers be allowed to listen to this podcast? Should all non-sellers unsub? Absolutely not. I think a lot of the content that we make and a lot of what we talk about is very finance focused. But me personally, 8 years ago, I was one of the biggest collector boys around. I had my entry into the hobby with a fixed budget. $5,000 was all I was going to allocate to it. So even if you never intend to sell, making, like, everyone's budget is limited. So allowing your dollar to go as far as possible. These things we talk about, these conversations we have are relevant whether or not you sell. And yeah, absolutely, everyone is always welcome. Anything to add from either of you on that, or on to the next?
I'm good with that one.
Yeah, I think you pretty much said it all. I mean, we're all here for the same reason, and it's because we're nerds and we enjoy this. So
shared passion. Here I'm gonna go to a screen share. I actually lose my question when I go to the screen share, but final question from last episode. Stuart asks, do I get motion sickness looking at Carddass Dugtrio, or is it just me? I need to know if I should see an eye doctor. and he wanted me to hook him up with the high-tech on-screen infographic. So I believe this is the card he's talking about. We've got the Diglett and the Dugtrio here in an eBay listing that I found. I've never seen it in person. Honestly, I don't do much with the non-TCG cards aside from Tops. Tops I did get involved in. At first, I thought I had the card that he was talking about because I recently bought one on I bought a Carddass Dugtrio on PWCC. They gave me $100 to spend however I'd like, so I bought this card. And this isn't the same card that he's talking about. So Nick and Nick will see this in a little bit on their stream. They can't see my screen live while I'm showing it, but yeah, originally when I saw the question, I looked over at this one because I knew I just picked it up. I made a little purchase through PWCC because they gave me $100 for free. So I bought a random Wayne Gretzky card and then some PSA 7 and PSA 8 Carddass vending cards. But I've never owned prior. You guys should see it now. I've never owned prior these type of cards, these red and green Carddass cards. But now I own some. They gave me $100 for free and they kind of got me. I spent like $140. But this is what I picked up with my PWCC free $100 promotion thing. But yeah, what about you guys? Any motion sickness from that card, or are you guys like involved in that set of cards?
I don't do much with it. I don't think I've ever owned any of those cards before. But doesn't give me motion sickness vibes. How about you, Retro?
Yeah, no on the motion sickness. I really like Carddass stuff in general. I don't have any Pokemon Carddass stuff, but I have a bunch of like other IPs. I think like Carddass in general and just like that distribution style of cards is really important to the card culture in general in Japan. I mean, there's Carddass vending machines in other countries as well, but I feel like it's really kind of big part of Japanese card culture. Yeah, so it's nice to see people appreciating them. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them out there, but like condition rarity is real on these things because they were mass produced. Like sometimes they are off center. There's all sorts of print defects, and like they're loaded into vending machines, and so. You know, who back in 1997, 1996, whatever, is going to be right there with like a sleeve and a top loader at the vending machine ready when the card comes out. You know what I'm saying? So it's really tough to get these in like 9 or 10 conditions. So that provides kind of like an additional chase, which is kind of cool. But yeah, no on the motion sickness. So
maybe that holo just really hits different in hand. To be fair, a lot of cards do. A lot of cards, you look at them online and once you get them in hand for that first time, like I remember when Radiant cards came out, it's like, they hit quite a bit different seeing them in person. And that's a common thing with a lot of different cards. But yeah, we're through.
Amazing rares too.
I love amazing
rares. And
yeah.
I know they're cheap, but dude, they look sick in hand. And like every foiling is different. Like I don't, those are cool cards, man. And they bleed, like the holo bleeds outside the frame. Yeah, I like those a lot.
Yeah, I like those too. We're through all the questions from last episode, so we're 20 minutes behind chat now. We'll see how far we end up behind chat, but we're just gonna hang out, make it through these questions, and see what pops up. Boondock Games asks, "What sort of content do y'all think is lacking in the hobby?" I'm not like a super creative type, so I'm not the one to ask for this. If I thought there was a big void, I would try to fill it. But I'm not like super creative. And I think honestly, like our podcast, I think we have a slightly different style. There are some other Pokemon podcasts out there, but we do it our own way. I like the way we do it. So I guess there's a couple voids that I thought was there. If I ever think there's a void for a specific video topic, I'll make it. So I guess I'm plugging the voids that I see and any other ones. Like there's certain content that I enjoy, but I don't have the ability to make, or I don't have the desire to make, just kind of like, because I like making content I enjoy making. But one would be like the game show type things are fun. They're pretty cool, where people bring others on, and the Around the Horn that Basic did, and I mean, I went on Swami's Top Spec, and those types of things are fun. I just don't know if I ever see myself organizing them. Partially it's a time thing, partially it's just like an ability thing too. All the editing and all the I can't really do that, or at least not yet. So I guess that's one bit of content that I think we could use a little bit more of. And people are doing it though too. Professor Oak has done some, I know. But that's probably one that I won't ever fill. Like making the content unless I'm a guest that someone has me on. What about you guys?
For
What about you?
me, I would say, now I can't even remember the name. Collectible Conversations with Squeaks and Radar. That's something that I really enjoyed listening to and miss now that it's gone. So I would say a reboot of that would be the one thing that I'm missing from YouTube right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I like Tweaks and Radar, and a lot of it too is you respect or kind of interested in hearing people's opinions, even if it is like about Moonbryon or a modern booster bot or something like that. You're just like, okay, well, what does this guy think about this or whatever? So there's certain people I wish, like Radar, like Zakil, Rainy Day Collectibles, like dudes that I could, listen to them talk like all day, just because I think they're really smart and want to hear, what they think about things. As far as like content type that is missing in sports, there's sports show content, and it's really kind of fun and high stakes in some ways. Like basically dudes will go from shows to shows, and like this could be on a weekly basis, bi-weekly, whatever, and they're just constantly making plays, sending stuff off for grading, getting it back, taking it to the next show, making trades. And they do a little bit of that kind of stuff you'll see on like Instagram or TikTok. It's like the trade up challenge, but it's not the same. Like it's about the hustle and the grind and the flip. There's a couple like sports channels that do that, and I feel like that would be something really cool for Pokemon, because the same sort of arbitrage exists. You could pull up to a show, buy a card raw, send it off for grading. You get a Dark Charizard first edition 9 back, then you take it to the next show, you trade up, you get an extra $200 and like that kind of content. But it needs to be like edited well. Like Roth Cards, Kenny Fornos, like if you've ever watched their content, it is edited really well, but that's just kind of what it is just showing them making deals, buying, selling, going to different shows. And I feel like that's missing in the space. I feel like a lot of people, or at least I really enjoyed watching all the Denver Collecticon recaps, and I was there, so
Yeah.
I think people want to see hard show content where people are interacting in real life, because that's one of the best things in the hobby is hard shows getting together in real life, like everybody kicking it. Like this is great too, but like so much better in real life to all be hanging out and wheeling and dealing and stuff like that. So
Do you think you could make that content with like maybe a BGS 9.5 German Charizard, or maybe like some Worlds cards?
yeah, dude, like that's what I'm saying, man. Like I got so lucky at Denver, man. Like all those Worlds cards hit crazy grades, and then the CGC 9.5 first ed Charizard from Mason, like holy shit, dude. Like I rented off Denver, but I didn't record any of it. Or
You're making the
yeah,
plays.
but
Give us the vlogs. Come on.
I know
Orlando.
I need to get better at editing. Like one of my little side hustles is I do like drone photography for real estate, and like a lot of clients are wanting video now. So I need to step up like my video editing game, and hopefully that can transfer into YouTube too, and I can make that kind of card show vlog content. So yeah.
Everyone
Gotta
go to
get on
go to
Pokemon Classics level of editing.
Yeah, go to Retro's channel, linked in the description below, and comment that we need to see some vlog content from Orlando, because he was making big moves in Denver but not documenting it.
Orlando's gonna be sick, man. Like I'm really excited. There's a lot of people that already live in Florida, and like we didn't get to see Oak, so it's cool that we'll be able to see him because he lives in Florida. So Yeah, I think that's going to be a good one. Both of you guys are going to that too, right? Because both of you got sections. So
Yep.
okay, sweet.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it.
Old school. The
Yeah,
next question is. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say the next question's for you when you're ready, but
I was just gonna say, I'm planning to do 3 or 4 next year. So the next question comes from Professor Birch. Nick, how do you sort your WotC and early Nintendo era bulk for TCGPlayer? Do you sort cards alphabetically and by set, or by when sets were released within that era? So for WotC, it's just something that I've always done, and I know WotC like the back of my hand, so I'm able to do it relatively easily. I do by rarity, so rare cards, starting with the characters, then the trainers, alphabetically. Same thing with the uncommons, same thing with the commons, then basic energies last. For everything else, so from Nintendo on to modern sets, it's just alphabetically by the entire set. So you start off with the A's, go all the way through the Z's, regardless of rarity. I will separate, so like I'll do all the hollows and reverse hollows together, and then all of the non-hollows together as well. And then TCGPlayer is a little bit weird how they like organize their sets for when you're pulling inventory. For it's not really organized by era, but it kind of is once you get into the XY. So from like EX era all the way through black and white, it's just alphabetically by set. And then when you get to the XY era, it's alphabetically by all the XY sets. Same thing with the Sun and Moon era. And then when you get into the Sword and Shield era, it's chronologically. So you start off with Sword and Shield base, Rebel Clash, Darkness Blaze, so on and so forth. So that's kind of how I do it. I did back a couple of months ago. I actually bought a it's called a Magic Sorter, and it's similar to like the Roko Sorter that Mason's shown on some of his videos. Only it doesn't have as much capability, but it's also a lot cheaper. So I'm really excited to get that. I should be getting that sometime late December, early January. So I'll definitely make a return to YouTube once I get that and show you guys how it actually works.
I was gonna say, if you didn't say it, I was gonna say we need a video on that because that's pretty cool. But that question was very like mechanical about how TCGPlayer works specifically, so I have nothing to add on that.
How are you sorting your slabs, Nick? Is that alphabetical, or like what are you doing for that? Are you sorting by grade?
Yeah, I do it by. So again, for the WotC, because I know that stuff really well, it's by. So you start off with the 10s, then the 9s by set, just numerical order. And then when you get into like the EX through current, it's just whatever era it is, by the grade. So 10s, 9s, 8s, and then just alphabetical order.
And do you just have them in 2 rows so that you can flip through them, or like what are you
Yeah,
using?
I use the those BCW 2-row boxes.
I'm
And
showing
so
one on screen right now that you guys can't see.
We'll see it in like 2 minutes.
That's one of my biggest things I need to work on for next year is organization. I need to get like a new desk and like a shipping station that I can have like both my printers and scale and everything on. And then something obviously to like to store all my inventory because I just got stuff all over the place, man. So listening to you talk about like time per fulfillment of an order and like understanding how important that is and how much time is wasted like looking for an item and how that can separate you and drastically change the amount of money you're making per hour just really reinforce the fact that I need to get those processes down for sure, and the organization needs to level up. So
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I'm pretty OCD about organization. I have one room that the room that I've done videos in before. That room is completely organized. I know where everything is in that room. Where I am right now is kind of what I use for like when I get new collections, I'll throw them down here. And this room is an absolute disaster. But once I kind of get everything organized and listed on eBay, that's when it goes up to the other room. And I keep that room organized so that way when something does sell, it doesn't take me long to find whatever card.
Yeah, and now that I'm doing consignments, I do like every consignment is obviously separated. I keep with them in case anything were to ever happen to me, like the information of who sent it, because I do buy it now consignments, so things aren't just like churning through. I have the contact information for every person, like with their cards, in the event anything were to happen and they needed to be sent back. But I used the 5-row things about a minute ago on the screen I was showing. I actually I got a big sheet of dry erase sheet, and I got dry erase markers because what I was finding I was doing on the end, I would say like, okay, this is PSA 9 and 10 jungle uncommons and commons, or this is sword and shield promos, whatever it was. And then I'd sell through them all and I'd consolidate boxes and things would change and I'd have something else. So I would scribble what was in it and then I'd wipe it off or I'd scribble over it, scribble something new. Well, both sides of all my boxes were filling up with what was in them. So this dry erase thing has been nice. I did that a few weeks ago, and I just like, okay, this is what's in there now. Once that stuff's gone, once I reconsolidate boxes, but consignments obviously stay with each other. It's normally by grade, then by set order. But I'll have some, like, I don't have a ton of mid-era stuff. So, like, I might have one shoebox that's EX era. And it's honestly not, like, amazingly, because I might have 50 Delta Species reverse hollows right now, and a few Unseen Forces, and a few Hidden Legends, and a few Fire Red Leaf Green. So all those will be in one shoebox. And there's not like one thing I would like to get. I think they just call them dividers, like card dividers that you put in a 5-row box. You'd put between sets, you'd put between cards. I want taller ones. I don't know if anyone makes them. I don't know if Ultra Pro makes, but it would have to be like half an inch taller than a slab. And then you can just write on the top, okay, like here's where Heart Gold Soul Silver Triumphant starts. Here's where Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed starts. Because some of that takes a little bit of time. Usually it's by memory though. Like I have 1,500 cards listed. It sounds like a lot, but right when I go to my Heart Gold Soul Silver box, it's like, oh, I know Triumphant's in that corner. I know Unleashed is in this side. I generally have a pretty good idea of where everything is. So I think that covers that question pretty well. The Old Card Shop had a quick question for Retro. Do you own a single binder?
I don't, but I need to get one of those really nice ones with where you slide in through the side because binders definitely seem to be the move for displaying like raw cards for sale at cons. So yeah, I definitely need to get like a nice binder to put some singles in that aren't gradable to sell. So
That's actually
no.
That's something I've not done. That's something I've not done at any convention, and I'm contemplating actually bringing a binder that I can just have on top of the, or I can have it up on top of the case, like open, not obscuring too many cards. It can kind of move around, and yeah, I'd be interested to see if I had any success. I know Nick, you've had like you've had singles in a case, but I don't think you've ever had a binder of singles to flip through either. I might throw one together for Orlando. We'll see.
Yeah, I've never done the binder thing. I'm definitely planning on bringing a lot more singles for Orlando. Having more space definitely helps, but seeing how well Swami did with his singles in Denver, I'm definitely going to give that another shot because I tried doing singles in Charlotte, and I had 2 whole cases full of WotC hollows, near mint condition. Pricing I thought was really good, and I sold like 3 cards out of both those cases in Charlotte, so it did not work out well there. But I'm gonna give it another shot, see how it goes.
And that was like $300 between the table and the cases.
it's weird. Like, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say definitely not the best use of space there.
Yeah, it's weird. Like at Denver, man, there was an entire section that was just like, well, multiple probably, but I remember one specifically. Like it was all raw cards. Like they didn't have a single slap. I mean, it was mainly like ultra modern kind of stuff or whatever, but it was an entire section of raw cards that were priced like 20-30% below like TCGPlayer kind of deal. So I wonder if it's just I don't know, man. Maybe the people in Charlotte are more like bougie and want slabs or something. I don't know. But like Denver seemed to do pretty decent with Raw, so I'm interested to see how it does in Orlando. But the binder, like I don't know, Thrifty did really well. I think DNA did pretty good selling stuff out of a binder. Um, it's just easy, like especially on like those $2 to $5 cards. I mean, you can still make margins selling them on TCGPlayer and using a stamp and a PWE and all that kind of stuff. But like just getting $1 or $2 like in person and not having to deal with it is so nice, you know? So
Yeah, no, selling in person is so much nicer than selling online.
and it's nice to have like little raws too. Like, you know, if like somebody comes by with their kid or something, you can just like grab something out of the binder and like, you know, give them a cool card or something really quick. So it's nice to have access. Or if someone's buying like slabs from you, just like, oh, pick something cool out of the binder. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I don't know. I remember the whatnot sellers or the whatnot, I guess buyers, but like people that sell and whatnot, like they came by and like bought us out at the end. And I was like, oh, here, man, like I have this ETB. Like, do you like Dragon Ball Z? Like, you know, flip through and like, you know, pick something out. And he was like looking at me weird, like, wait, what are you talking? I'm like, dude, just pick a card. You just spent like thousands of dollars. Like, you can have some free cards. And it was weird. Like, he was like, maybe people hadn't really done that. It's like, yeah, dude, like, I don't know, man. Like I feel like little stuff like that goes a long way. You know, like just hooking people up with something cool for cheap, or you know, just I don't know.
Yeah.
John Doe had a
No,
question.
definitely a nice idea.
John Doe had a question for you, Retro. 1 being bearish and 10 being bullish. Where do you rate the outlook on the hobby and why?
I think like the hobby is really, really strong, and not just Pokemon. I'm talking like just cards in general, whether it be like sports, TCG, non-sports, Marvel, Star Wars, all that kind of stuff. Like it's still rip roaring. Prices have retraced, but people are still here. People are still engaged. People are making. People are watching YouTube content. People are buying cards and having fun and going to shows. So I think like the hobby is really, really strong. And especially with all these events like Collecticon and stuff, people making new friends and stuff, like that's the kind of stuff that keeps people around for the long term. And I think a lot of people that are probably watching this right now are gonna be here for a while, you know. And as far as like prices go, though, it's like you've just got a constantly increasing supply of these cards, and effectively our goals as businesses is to populate these cards as much as possible until the margin isn't there anymore. So I just feel like you're fighting an uphill battle if you're looking at it as an investment outside of, you know, maybe a few blue chip type items or really rare niche things. Um, so on a price appreciation level, I wouldn't say I'm very bullish, but as far as like the hobby in general being strong, people being engaged, there being a good secondary market and things like that, and Pokemon being super hot, like that's a 10 out of 10. You know, like people are like fear and greed index. I mean, people are shook. You know what I'm saying? Like grayscale, Bitcoin is trading at like 52% like net asset value. Like no one wants to invest right now. People are super scared, and Pokemon is still coming out and having cards selling for like $200-300 out the gate. People are stoked. People can't get enough of this modern product. Like people are happy to be here and having a really, really good time. Like there's no question about that. So, or at least in my mind, I don't know if you guys have anything to add. You've been around a lot longer, but in my limited experience, it seems like a pretty healthy, you know, pretty exciting time to be around. So
Yeah, I just want to echo a lot of what you said, and I think the best statement that I came up with to put it as succinctly as possible, I am long on cardboard and short on plastic. That's the best I can put it. So I'm very bullish for like the hobby existing and continuing to be around. I think some crazy things are going on with plastic premiums. And some cards are worse violators than others. Some packs and coins and these different things that we can put in plastic and charge a massive premium. I'm yeah, to say it as briefly as possible, long on cardboard, short on plastic is where I'm at. But don't take that too. I mean, some people hear that and they take it way too negatively. I think there's absolutely some cards out there that have way better prospects than others. It's a spectrum, as always. But that's where I stand.
Yeah, I think you covered it really good, Retro. I pretty much completely agree with you on that one. I think Pokemon right now is in a very healthy spot, and I know me personally, my sales have been doing really, really well. The past couple months, going November, December, sales have been going really well, which is awesome to see. So I think we're in a really good spot right now.
In Orlando
And
just
I don't.
booked. Orlando just had 90% of tables booked in two days. So look at how healthy
Yeah,
the convention circuit is going right now. It is amazing to see because as we've said and as we'll continue to say, the in-person events are like the greatest part of this hobby. Sorry, Nick, to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're all good. I was just gonna ask both of you too. Like, for me personally, when things were going crazy, it was kind of like it was fun. You know, it's kind of like a ride, and it was a good time to be kind of like learning and looking back at price history and stuff like that. But it was kind of stressful. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really feel fun as much, at least for me. It might have felt fun if you had like tons of inventory that you were dumping onto the market, but like for me, it felt kind of stressful. And now I'm having like a really good time, and my business is growing, and I don't feel like I'm, stepping on anybody to get to the top, or doing any of the weird sort of stuff we saw like during the boom. There's plenty of honest money to be made, but yeah, like it feels less stressful, and I'm having a better time. Like, do you guys, are you having a good time? I guess is the simple, like, are you having fun? Like, do you enjoy being here? I mean, obviously, like both of you left full-time careers to do this, even after like the retrace and the bumble burst or whatever you want to call it. So like, are you guys, still having a good time? Do you still love this? Are you still passionate? Like, how are you feeling?
I'm definitely loving it. I'm very happy I made the switch from my job to doing this. Most of the time it does not feel like work. Sometimes you get those days where it definitely does feel like work and the worst job in the world, but overall it is an awesome time. I'm having a lot more fun now than I did in 2020. We've talked about this before, but 2020 I was away working June through November. Really didn't have much access to the internet or eBay or anything like that. So when I got off my ship in November, I felt like I knew nothing about Pokemon anymore. Pricing was completely different from when I had left, and it was a very, very stressful time for me. I basically had to relearn the entire market. So it was very stressful for me. Basically ended or closed my whole eBay store, started over from zero, relisting everything, learning the new pricing, updating everything. So I'm having a lot more fun now than I did in 2020.
Yeah, 2020 was a wild time. It was stressful. It was obviously, I mean, non-Pokemon related. Well, kind of boom related, but non-Pokemon related. Just societally, socially, the whole pandemic thing. I mean, 2020, it was great to sell cards for tons of money. It was great, the financial security that 2020 brought to me in many ways, but it was stressful. It felt like I wasn't doing enough. It felt because I was having my second child. I was buying a new house. Like there was a lot of stuff going on outside of Pokemon too that it was like a blur. And it wasn't sustainable. And every day it just felt like, when and how is this going to fail? It's the bubble has popped in a much more healthy, good way than I would have guessed, and I'm very glad for that. Because today the prices, some prices are still high. I mean, some prices feel low, but overall it just feels a lot healthier than it did in 2020 in every respect. And it's great to see that Pokemon is kind of navigating this whole downturn, whatever you want to call it, recession, better than most TCGs. I mean, MetaZoo's had to slash their print run in half, and I mean that did seem to do something good for them. Seems like Fab's turning it around a little bit. Magic is having its magic things going on, having a bit of a rougher time, but it's good to see the health that Pokemon is able to do it. So again, I'm bullish on cardboard. I'm bullish on the hobby long term from all those perspectives.
And even some, like, really quick, just one data point I thought was crazy that I looked up recently. some super populated vintage stuff is even like ticking up. Like look at CD promo Charizard 10 prices. That card was chilling at like 500 for a long time, and I've seen sales like 650. Like that card's moving back up, and there's tons of those, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is Charizard, but still, for that card to have such strong pricing and even like slightly start ticking back up after 25 years of that being graded, yeah, there's demand, man. There is demand.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was actually asked in my office hours this morning through the Patreon that I do how I feel about my new job and if it's as stimulating, if it's because I was a chemical engineer. That was a lot more difficult, like brain power wise. That was a lot more like flexing my brain muscles and like having to actually work through difficult calculations. And this is not very, very, very different jobs, but I don't have any regrets in leaving it. I'm challenged in different ways now, wearing all the hats I wear, being a one-man operation, being a solo corporation. It's just different. And honestly, one thing that I really like one thing I don't like, when I was a chemical engineer, I had no customer facing interactions at all, really. I dealt with my boss, I dealt with my production workers, I dealt with everyone internal. So I had no customer service aspect. There are days where the customer service aspect really gets to me. There are days where it's like, man, these people are driving me nuts. I didn't have that at my old job, but on the silver lining side of that, some customer interactions, all the ones I've had in person, those are so great. It's so great. Like, man, that was the last card I needed. That was the ETB I needed to complete my collection. Like, or just, hey, that video you made 6 months ago, I was able to buy the Precious Collector box and I just sold it for a $200 profit because of that video you made. Or, yeah, like it's really rewarding. I never got that at my old job. Honestly, I never got like, I mean, I get the occasional good job for my boss, this, that, but seeing actual people like bringing joy into people's lives because they're able to like do better in their side hustle or they're able to complete their collection. Like that's a huge benefit that I was not really receiving at my last job. So I love that part of the hobby. And honestly, 2020, going back, tying it in with this, like 2020, the bubble, like I kind of know, and I knew that some of those cards I was selling, again, I didn't like lose sleep at night because they were all adults spending their adult money, but I knew that some of those interactions were going to end poorly because like some people bought $1,000 EVs thinking they were going to be $2,000 EVs, $5,000 EVs. And so there is on the other side of that coin, there are some negative interactions where you sell to people who don't make wise financial decisions and screw up. But that's a different angle that I guess is a slight con to my old job. But
Yeah, I would just echo your point that you made about selling in person, because like online you have no idea who you're dealing with, right? And sometimes for me too, when people will be like worried about something, it's like, dude, look at my feedback. Like I've done tons of transactions. I'm a good guy. I do good business. I'm not going to screw you over. Like I'm going to make sure you get your item in good condition, like in a quick amount of time. But but they have no idea who you are, right? Like they have no idea what kind of person you are or anything like that. You're just like a name on a screen to them. In person, like them coming up to you, hey, like I really like this oh yeah, I really like that card too, I'm a big Nishida fan, whatever the case, and that sort of connection, there's no room for like, hey, when are you going to ship this? Or like my slab arrived cracked, or I don't like the way you ship this or anything. Like it's almost always, like you said, a good experience to just like, quick transact, you hand me the money or Venmo or whatever, and like you get what you want. And a lot of the time too, to your other point, like you are making people happy. You know what I mean? Like they want these items. It's not like you're out here. I mean, obviously there's people that have predatory selling practices, but you guys aren't out here like pushing bad items onto people. You know what I mean? In a predatory fashion, like people are buying items from you that they genuinely want and enjoy. And so this idea, like dirty flipper, dirty or whatever, it's like, people, like, you wouldn't be able to have a business if people didn't want this stuff. People want this stuff, they enjoy it, and you're just like providing it for them. So it's not always like a negative thing or like you're taking advantage. And like you said, like the investment type thing, like sometimes people make bad decisions. But here you are on YouTube telling people to the best of your ability, like, hey, this is not the best time to be buying these cards. So ultimately, like, what can you do, right? Like it, yeah.
Ernesto wants some bars.
Oh, let's hear it.
Are we rapping on PokeFlipz?
I know I
don't
can't.
know. Are we rapping on?
I know I can't. Trying to find the next question. So Josh, the old card shop, asks, why are yellow borders better? Because they are the original border. They are where my childhood lives. They are my nostalgia. So honestly, I'm not like some people think it's blasphemy that English has had yellow borders for so long. Silver are better in every way. I'm not too like I don't have a dramatic reaction either way about it. It's like we've always had yellow are fine. I never thought the negativity towards them from some people was warranted. And now that we're changing to silver, I'm not like, oh man, I'm done with Pokemon. Yellow was the only way to be. And like some people, I've seen mostly people liking it. Oh, now it's finally going to be good like Japanese. It's going to look better. But to me, it's not like a dramatic thing either way. It's like, okay, we got a new border color. That's let's move on. A lot of these alt arts, a lot of these different cards of higher rarities have had like black borders anyways. A lot of these things have had like non-yellow borders over the past few years anyways. So yeah, it is what it is. Like I'm not reacting too drastically to it either way.
I'm not a fan. It's like what you said. We grew up with the yellow borders. We're so used to them. I don't like the change. But it's not a huge thing. I do. If I was collecting modern sets, I think it would affect me more. But where I don't collect like complete modern sets, it's not a huge deal to me. But the other change that I was actually really happy about was the getting rid of the set symbols and starting to go to the numbers. That'll make things a whole lot easier. So I was happy about that change. And then the 3 hollows per pack, that'll be interesting. And them getting rid of rares and making rares hollow. I'm really curious to see how that affects like singles pricing. Are hollows just going to be a lot cheaper now, or are we just going to be able to make a little bit more money off of singles? It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
That's a good point. I think that's a lot more relevant and pertinent information. Really will be interesting to see the new dynamic moving ahead. Will people be like desensitized? Because 2/3 of the time when you opened a pack, it was kind of like a big whiff, like you were hitting a non-hollow rare, and it kind of was like a bad feeling. Now, if you're getting 3 hollows in every pack, is that just like the whole hedonic adaptation, the hedonic treadmill? Is that going to change our perceptions of the vintage product? Like, is it going to make it that much harder to spend on vintage product where 1 out of 3 times you're going to get skunked? Or yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that changes things.
Yeah, I don't know, like with the extra hollow thing, personally, there's a lot of arts, like even in Sword and Shield, like there's like an Entei and a Lugia, but the hollow pattern for Sword and Shield kind of sucks. And it's like, man, if these were just Cosmos foils or something, like these would be so sweet. Like, so I don't know. It feels like they're pushing hollow like further down into bulk territory, which, this is just like a personal thing or whatever, because I like just a regular hollow. Like it doesn't always need to be like a crazy flashy V full art, whatever. But I don't know. Like part of it is just kind of like the post office, right? Like they raise rates for the holidays, but then like they never really like fully go back. They always just kind of like push things up like a tiny bit, but then they'll never. It's kind of like the whole thing with the government. People are like, oh yeah, well, like the government never gives you more rights over time, kind of thing or whatever. And so I feel like that's kind of what it is with Pokemon. Maybe they're trying to distinguish themselves as like a little bit more of like a premium product. But yeah, like I mean, they're probably not going back, right? Like if 450 is the new MSRP, then it is what it is, and people are still people are still going to buy it. As far as the silver borders go, maybe they're trying to get closer to Japanese. Who knows? Like maybe they're just trying to do something a little bit different. And there's always going to be a percentage of people that are not like stoked on it or whatever. But I think just like every year, there will be something for everybody. Like if it's not this first Scarlet and Violet set, then in summer something's going to drop that's going to have some bangers that people are going to lose their mind over. I have no doubt about it. So
yeah. Just a quick comment I highlighted. Josh said, people seem to really like the Japanese cards right now. Do you think they should start printing the English cards in Japanese too? Oh god.
Some Japanese cards, like some Japanese set cards, are like twice the price of their English counterparts. So just saying.
Japanese waifu trainers. I will never understand that. They're so much more expensive than the English ones.
It's weird on the ones, especially when they're like 12 years old in the anime, when they're
I do kind of feel though that like it is a little bit of the rising tide carries all ships sort of deal. Like Japanese for the longest time, just from what I've heard and just looking back at, like PSA APR and seeing what, auction prices were in 2018, 2019, and even like early 2020, like Japanese had very little demand or the prices did not reflect any sort of real sustained demand. So the fact that Japanese is so in demand now, to me, like that doesn't take away from the English. That just shows, well, if Japanese is this strong, English must be really, really strong, which I still feel that it is. But I will say they probably need to get their print quality up a little bit, because the thing about the silver borders is they kind of show like front whitening a lot easier than the yellow borders do. So if there's like fraying on the edges, that won't look so good with the silver edges.
Yeah, I think some people might be like, oh man, we're going to get the silver borders, we're going to get Japanese cardstock, and everything's just going to be perfect like it is in Japanese. And I don't think that's coming. If you're hoping for that, no. The yellow border is just printed on the cardstock. So they're just going to be changing their base color. I almost wonder, like, I think the way the printers work, it's, what is it, CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and then black. I would think yellow would be cheaper to print than silver, but I was almost like, the first time I heard it, I'm like, I wonder if it's cheaper to print that way. But it's probably, maybe it is though, because it's just some portion of black and white, I guess. I don't know. That was honestly one of my early thoughts about it. Like maybe it's like partially a cost thing. When you're printing 9.1 billion cards, every fraction of a cent adds up into something, but it's probably not that at all.
I think it would make a difference. Who knows though?
Yeah. Mini Lopo 18 asks, what do you think of the trading cards Donald Trump has launched? And I had to Google this because like an hour or two ago, apparently, I guess Donald Trump is getting into NFTs. And I don't want this to turn political. Let's avoid from any of that. But it's not something I'm going to partake in by any means.
Is that a political reason you're not partaking in it, or?
It's not a political stance. It's the only reason I ever got into any NFTs is because MetaZoo had some utility in the real world that was useful to me, and I don't think that these will have any useful real world utility that I would go for.
I didn't even know that was a thing, and definitely won't be partaking in it either.
I didn't until I just Googled it when I saw this question. How
about Retro? You going all in on Trump cards?
No, I'm all set. I'm all set on that. Yeah, I'm not touching that with a 20-foot pole, man. Like, no way.
Josh asks, do any of the people who bought $900 Jungle Pikachu ever come thank you? Honestly, 2020 was a little bit stressful, a little bit scary. People did thank me. There were times where the latest auction went for like, say on a PSA 9 unlimited Charizard. There was a point where the previous auction had went for like 6,000 or high 5,000s. Every time I was listing a buy it now, I would just like I would either go slightly above the latest auction or in some cases just slightly under, because I felt like this could be the top. This could be the one. I just want to get rid of this thing. And there were literally times where I would sell an item, $900 Pikachu, when the last auction went $950, and people would be like, thank you for giving me such a great deal. What do you like? There were times where people asked me, what do you think about this long term? And I said, the only thing I can tell you is well, at that point, I didn't have a YouTube. I would have said, go check out my YouTube. But I would say I was the seller in that transaction. You were the buyer. I saw the price and I sold. You saw the price and you bought. That's all I can really tell you about my thoughts on the price of this card moving forward. I was a very willing participant on the selling side of this transaction. But honestly, like, kind of a meme question, I'm sure. It was kind of a joke. I did have people saying, like, thank you for giving me such a great deal, because people truly thought, like, I never want that to leave my brain. I never want to lose those memories, because 2020 was scary. And some of it's still going on today with people buying these things with long-term price appreciation in mind. And there needs to be a buyer there. And will there be is always the question.
Yeah, I remember one time, like, I probably wouldn't do this now because it's just like, you know, a waste of time or whatever. But I remember I was selling like Marvel PMGs, and this dude was on like Instagram trying to buy one off me, and he was just super bullish, and they had already gone up like so much, and that's why I was selling. And he just was like, oh yeah, like these are a great investment, like these are gonna do crazy, like the floor on these is like 2,000. And I'm just like, dude, like, and I sat there and kind of like argued with him for a little bit, and I was like, look, man, like, these have already gone up a lot, like there's no guarantee, blah blah blah. And I mean, he was just like, dude, you're the idiot for selling it to me, basically. And yeah, I don't know, like at the end of the day, like, people are gonna do what they're gonna do. Like, yeah, you just do the best you can, I guess, and be honest and transparent. But yeah, I think a lot of the time, if you're buying something, I don't, especially graded already, like a lot of the premium on it has already been realized by the person who graded it. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I was home for 2020. That's all I'll add.
Oh man, John Doe Retro, if you want to take that one on the screen, he's got a question directly for you.
Set that I like most is probably Golden Sky, Silvery Ocean, which is Unseen Forces in English. But the one that I opened most as a kid was probably like Rocket or Fossil or something. When I did come back into the hobby, though, I remember seeing the base set 2 art, and that being like the pack art, and like that instantly kind of clicking, and I was like, oh, I remember, like, especially the purple one with the Pidgeot on it. So I probably opened a lot of base set 2. I'm sure it was hanging at like Albertsons or Target when I was a kid, and I was probably opening that. I do remember opening, like, the last sets I opened though were like E-Series. I do remember opening like a couple E-Series packs as a kid, and I pulled the Suicune. That was a good memory.
That's a nice pull right there.
And as a kid, like, you open them like as soon as you got in the car, like no binder or anything, and then you're just holding them in your like grubby little hands, like waiting to get home to like put them in your binder.
Or put them in your pocket for safe holding so you didn't drop them in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof, man. Rough.
Me personally, I probably opened Fossil most, and I really liked Fossil. I know I've said that on a live stream before, and Mason, Cardinal Gaming, he's been like, this dude just admitted to liking Fossil, one of his favorite sets, and I still do. Like, I really liked Fossil. Just probably, like, so much of my involvement and so much of my joy from this hobby is like reflecting back and that nostalgia. So Fossil was a big one for me. I think I still liked base more overall, but yeah, I definitely opened fossil most as a kid.
For me,
Snorlax in fossil. Sorry, really is Snorlax
good.
is in fossil, right?
Snorlax is jungle.
Snorlax.
Okay,
Fossils,
never mind.
Gengar, Dragonite, Aerodactyl,
Yeah.
Kabutops, Hitmonlee, Gengar. I said a Gengar. Hunter. I don't like that Hunter art, honestly. I'm not. I like Hunter a lot as a species, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of that Hunter art.
I like that hunt. What were you gonna say though, Nick? Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, you're good. You're good. My favorite set, Shadowless Base. Gotta stick with the original. And opening, I don't remember opening much as a kid, honestly. I remember opening a Brushfire theme deck, which I remember I was super disappointed because I thought I was going to have a Charizard in it, being a fire theme deck, and I was a little disappointed with the Ninetales. And then I remember opening a Team Rocket pack, which completely got me out of Pokemon as a kid. So all of my pack or opening memories as a kid were just depressing.
And I just reread the question. I wasn't saying fossils like my favorite set ever. Base set is my favorite set ever, which to some might be a better answer, to some might be a worse answer. I don't know. But yeah, and then the legendary trio. I loved the legendary birds in the game. And Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres, some of my favorite species, like interacting with them in the game, so it was cool. But I do like Unseen Forces that Retro mentioned. Very unfortunate circumstance on the English side with the whole legendary beast gold star binder situation.
Oh, yeah.
Where thousands of them left the factory, and that set is a beautiful set. The EX is in that set, the gold stars in that set. Very nostalgic ties to the legendary beast trio. And yeah, it just like sours that whole. I remember when I was buying, because I went through and I opened every box. When I was buying the Unseen Forces box, it was actually one of the more expensive ones. It was one of the more scarce ones. And in my mind, it's like best case scenario, I hit a gold. Well, best case scenario actually would have been like Lugia, PSA 10 or something. But I was thinking like, man, I'd love to hit a gold star. 1 out of 2 chances I'm gonna hit a gold star, and if I do, it's gonna be one of those legendary beasts that I've had like 20 of each mint because of that whole horde thing. So that's like a soured experience with Unseen Forces, unfortunately.
That set, like if you just like this set is nuts, dude. Lugia, Ho-Oh, Umbreon, Espeon, all 3 of the 3rd evolution Neo starters. Like the 3 legendary dogs is gold star. Like that set is loaded, dude.
Yeah.
Like crazy. And like even the non-popular Pokemon arts, like there's like a Sunflora in there that's super fire. Like I don't know, I love that set, man. And the reverse holo, dude, is stupid. It's like the Pokeballs in the background, so when you tilt the card, the Pokeballs like fly through the air. Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah, that's crazy.
That is a great set. Reeks asks, serious question, does anyone know personally anyone that has been banned from eBay for disclosing personal off eBay contact to potential customers? So many people reach out and ask me for this. Yeah, I have like a standard answer. This is eBay. Keep all contact on eBay. I wish that people would just search my damn name on Instagram. Like I have the same name on every platform. People will message me.
Google.
Yeah, like they message me, do you have an IG? It's like, search it. What are you doing? Like, look first, and then ask. But like that drives me nuts. But I do know people. I know people.
Or bio too.
I don't have my IG linked anywhere because you can't do that. But if you look at my what do they call a banner? My banner has the YouTube logo and it has the Instagram logo in it. So like, yeah, if you take any effort, you'll see like that I have one and you can contact me there. And I just like, I almost want to universally just like stop doing PayPal deals. At some point I want to get to where I just, cause sales tax perspective, all the logistical stuff of just having labels printed in one place, it's so much nicer. And I'm Nick made a good video about some eBay interactions that he had last year around Christmas time, and I think I'm going to make one soon because people just drive me nuts with like the entitlement. Like, hey, you have this listed for 100. The last auction sold for 50. I want to take this off eBay. I want to have you do it through PayPal. I want to get the 40 minus eBay fees all for me. I want to save sales tax. I want you to ship it internationally. Like, holy shit. Like, it drives me nuts. And for whatever reason, I got peppered with them the last week. Just kind of like when it rains, it pours. Like overall, I get X amount per month on average, but then just statistically speaking, they'll land in a big cluster from time to time. And this past week was the cluster, and it just drove me nuts. But yeah, I've heard of people being banned for a week. No listings, no sales, no nothing. If I were to lose my cash flow from eBay for a week, that's damaging to my business. How many times does that take until they full on ban you? Maybe I'd be more immune to that. Maybe I'm a bigger customer to them, but on the other side of like, I've heard of it. I've never heard of a full ban, but I've heard of like weak temporary bans. And then I have heard of one thing they'll do. If you get a message, hey, do you have an IG? And then 2 hours later, you delist the item, they will charge you the full final value fee as if you sold it on the platform. So say I have an item for $1,000 and you're like, hey, I'll give you $850 through Instagram, through PayPal, because you're going to save the fees and I want to save it all. And I want to save sales taxes. Now, you think I'm going to sell it to you for $850. You contacted me like a moron on eBay. Now I'm going to get charged the $130 on top of it that I would have had to pay if it sold through eBay. So no, I don't play those games. Like, if you know who I am and you follow my YouTube, and if you want to reach out through Instagram, reach out through Instagram. Don't start that communication on eBay. That is not the way to go about it. So nice rants there from me. What are your guys' takes on this?
What do you think, Nick?
I feel the same way. I'm not a huge fan of the direct through PayPal deals. It just takes more time. I always forget about them. I'm absolutely terrible about that. So eBay is definitely just easier, a lot more simple. But yeah, personally, I don't know of anyone who's gotten banned from eBay for sending those types of messages or responding to those types of messages. I have heard the thing where if someone reaches out, you end the item, eBay can flag that item and charge you that final value fee. I have heard that before. Never had it happen to me before, but I have heard that one. How about you, Retro?
I'm not messing around with eBay. You know, like I have like in my store bio, it's like, you know, follow me on Instagram at, you know, RetroSpecs for collection pictures or whatever. So it is frustrating when people still send you the message. I don't like, sometimes I'll screenshot my eBay like bio that says like, here's my Instagram, and then send the picture. But I don't know, man. Like, I feel like the more volume you do, like the less tolerance for bullshit you have, and like the less. And I remember Dan being like, oh, like, I hope eBay doesn't hear this, but like, if I even had to pay them more, I would, because it really does. Like, eBay will sell your items for you. Like, their algorithm will push your stuff. If you're a good seller, they'll sell you, and they'll take care of you as a seller and as a buyer. Like, you have really good protection, even with PayPal, like, especially on like higher end items or something. Like, I'm always worried, like, well, what if they hit me with like a chargeback or something like that, especially if you're doing friends and family and I don't know you. So I don't know. Like, I like to do stuff through Instagram and PayPal when I can, especially if it's somebody that like I've sold to before. But eBay, like, I just feel safer. Like, nothing feels better than selling and then shipping to the authenticator, because it's like,
yep,
my hands are clean. Like, once it gets to Kentucky, I don't have to worry about it. Or once it gets to, you know, the GSP thing or whatever, like, I'm done, you know, and like, not having that liability is, yeah, it's an amazing feeling. I remember thinking, oh, like, being a middleman, like, there's so much opportunity there because people are afraid to send their cards off for grading. Like, you could charge them like $2 or $3 a card and make a killing. And like now, as the business is scaled, I'm just like, that would be like, I can see how much of a nightmare that would be. And even to do consignments, like how much work it is and how stressful it is to like handle other people's cards, especially when you're talking about like hundreds, thousands of dollars worth of value, like get it potentially getting lost in the mail and then you being liable for that. Like that kind of stuff is stressful. And eBay takes a lot of that away. So yeah, sorry for the rant, but I think people, the more you do, the more you scale, the more volume you do, the more you value your time, and you have less tolerance, like I said, for any potential shenanigans on the buyer's side. So,
And eBay earned that money. Like, you join their platform knowing what their fees are. If that person's reaching out to contact it because they found it on eBay, they earned that commission. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. Like, if you don't like the platform, sell only on Instagram. Good luck. Like, let's see what your annual sales are on Instagram alone versus on eBay. The platform, the reach is huge. It's massive. And yeah, Nick talking about all the seller protections and buyer protections they have in there. It's a great platform. I love it. Mertz mentioned in the comments. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Well, just really quick, I remember on the last podcast you guys talked about, someone had asked a question like, have you guys ever thought about offering returns for the people that need the extra level of protection? And you were just like, what are you talking about? Like, you're so protected on eBay as a buyer. Like, we're doing good business. Like,
yeah,
you don't need to worry about protection. Like if something goes wrong, they will make it right. Like, they're good about it. People like say all this stuff on the internet, like, oh, eBay screwed me over. But like, at least in my experience and what I've heard from you guys and other businesses, like eBay does a good job of protecting you. So I don't agree with, I don't think it's risky at all. And even if you like buy from a scammer, like a flat out scammer, you're getting your money back. Like, it just, yeah. So.
Yeah, I think I said something like, if you need more protection buying on eBay, you must like walk outside in the world in a bubble. Like, I don't know how you navigate real life if you don't feel protected enough. And I guess I get it a little bit. That's a little bit harsh if you've never bought on eBay and you're brand new, zero feedback buyer. I guess I get some of the pause, some of the hesitation, but you are very well protected on eBay. Especially if it's above the 250 or whatever the number is, it's going through the authenticator. You're not going to get an empty box. You're not going to get a box of rocks or whatever. But yeah,
and like one last thing I'll say is like, a lot of people get worried about selling to zero feedback buyers, but you have to remember a lot of the zero feedback or low feedback buyers are people that had to make like an eBay US account to buy items from the United States, or at least that's been my experience. So when I see zero feedback pop up, like, I don't worry, because a lot of the time it's someone from China or out of country or whatever, just trying to buy something on English eBay. So there's also like that narrative that like, oh, like it's sketchy. It's not always sketchy, and again, like, eBay is going to protect you if that person is sketchy. So again, sorry for cutting you off. That was the last thing.
No problem at all. Yeah, I tend to not look. Like, I try to not look at my buyers. I just print my labels, pack them, ship them. I think, and it makes sense. Like, when you're starting as a seller, smaller feedback account as a seller side, every transaction's a bigger portion of your total transactions because you're not doing 10 a day, you're not doing 100 a week. So I get that you're looking at it more, but just like, take a deep breath. eBay is gonna have your back as a seller as well. There's both buyer and seller protection. They do a great job. That's not to say 1 out of 1,000 times, like, stuff does happen, and 1 out of 1,000 times you might have to eat something, but it's very, very rare. But yeah, Mertz just wanted to add into the discussion. I always say my account is the same name as it is here, and I've never been flagged. Done it maybe 5 times. It does make me feel kind of sketch, but I love making 13% more. Mertz, you must have different buyers than I do, because never is it, hey, I see you have a $100 item here on eBay. Let me do the service of paying you $100 on Instagram. It's always, I want to pay $75 because they're benefiting from no sales tax, which, talking about like the whole legality, talking about every angle, if every state is different, consult your tax professional. But if you start doing a high volume of sales to different states, you create what's called nexus in those states. People who run their own websites might know something about this. People who do things 100% by the book. I saw Squeaks in chat earlier. He's my go-to guy when it comes to like tax compliance, having chats with him about that. So yeah, like the proper way to do it, if you're selling to somebody in whatever state they're in, whatever county they're in, whatever township they're in, you're charging them that sales tax when you're selling through PayPal. It is not like a sales tax exempt, unless they're giving you their W-9 and they're a sales tax exempt business buying it for resale. So yeah, there's a lot of further complexities and considerations that eBay's handling. eBay is a marketplace. What do they call it? A marketplace facilitator or whatever. They collect and remit all due sales taxes. And if you're doing this for profit, if you're doing this for money, you have all the paperwork handed in to eBay where they don't charge you sales tax as a buyer. So like for me, I'm never going to reach out to anybody on eBay. Hey, do you want to PayPal this so that I can save? We can split the savings. I'm just going to buy it because I'm not paying sales tax anyways. I'm already saving 10% because I've set up properly as a business and I'm not paying sales tax on items purchased for resale. So, and yeah, that's just like a further rant. Like some of these people that are buying from me are telling me, oh yeah, I want to flip it. I want to start my own business, whatever. And it's like, whatever, that's cool. Do it all the right way, get your reseller permit, get it uploaded to eBay, and you won't be paying sales tax.
Yeah, exactly.
And similar to Mertz, I have actually done, there's been a couple times where I've just like trialed a different response than my copy paste one. I've been like, hey, this is eBay, keep all contact on eBay. But this is my business name. It's the same everywhere. I've said something kind of vague like that. And there's been times where they've come over. Half the time when they come over to Instagram, it's not even successful. Because again, that $100 item, they want it for 80. They want to match the auction that went for 70. Minus fee, like minus. They don't want to go over there to save you money, to make you more money. They want to go over there to take all the extra money. In my experiences.
I also think too, like it's your incentive to build your store, your feedback on eBay, on TCGPlayer. Like moving forward, these seem to be like the places people are going, and they've taken a lot of money and invested in buying these different companies like TCGPlayer to kind of be the go-to of the collectible space, right? And so kind of similar to like, you know, you saw a lot of the people that were like popular on Vine when it first came out, they became popular on like YouTube or TikTok. Or I feel like, I mean, eBay's been around for a long time and there's sellers that have been around for years, and like you guys have been around for years. But I just feel like moving forward, as eBay continues to develop, the bigger of a brand that you build, the better of a business that you build on eBay, like it's going to be good for you, you know, like it's going to pay off. And maybe at some point, if you get big enough, like you'll get, you know, some sort of like direct deal. Maybe I'm not anywhere near that, but yeah, like it's a good platform. So
that's a huge thing too, because yeah, your total handle, what you're paying to eBay is their most important metric, I think, at the end of the day. And there are people in our industry that are contracted, and instead of paying 13% fees, I don't know the exact numbers, but Rusty publicly has mentioned that he's partnered with eBay. He did that whole eBay Vault promotion. He was in some videos and he pays a lower fee. His incentive is so much less to go off of eBay, because it's like, I'm not going to save 13% off of eBay, whether it's 3%, 5%, 7%, 10%. It's oftentimes significantly less than 13%. And yeah, if I want to build to that someday, if that's a long-term goal for me, every dollar I take off eBay makes it that much less likely, especially if I have a history of like account strikes for, hey, this guy's constantly giving out his Instagram handle. They're going to be way less likely to work with me in the future and do some kind of a partnership. So very, very big considerations there.
Yeah, I mean, like look at you, like you stuck it out with Troll and Toad Evo, and now because of the changes that they've made where they've consolidated to, you know, the top 100 sellers or whatever it was, like you were in a position to profit from that. And I'm not saying that eBay is going to cut out, you know, below a certain tier of seller, like they have no reason or incentive to do that. But in most industries, you know, the top 1% produces, 90% of the goods, or does 90% of the sales, or whatever the case may be. So you having a big brand, it's it's good for you, and it sets you up for opportunities like what happened with Troll and Toad. So.
And Ernesto says, respectfully, Dan is ranting a lot and the Nick brothers just disagree on something. What can we disagree on, guys? We need some topic that not only will it be like 2v1, we need 1v1v1. We need like a cage match. We're all on polar trio opposites. I know that Nick and I are both Quaxley gang, so it can't be like which starter. Before the end of the show, we got 2 more hours. We need to find something we all disagree on. That's our goal for the next 2 hours.
Okay, maybe. I mean, I feel like all this stuff that people want to hear talked about, like, should you invest in poke? Like, we probably all have pretty similar takes on a lot of that stuff, I would imagine. So, yeah, it's tough to find something we really disagree on. Gem at Pokemon says MetaZoo.
I saw that.
Maybe.
So I'm a partner in MetaZoo, so I'm as deep as it gets. You don't touch MetaZoo, do you, Retro?
I think it's cool. Like, I've flipped a few cards or whatever, but I'm not, like, buying sealed product to hold or anything like that. I was talking to Jake Smith earlier, and I was saying, like, there's a saying in the finance world, like, that's pretty late cycle, right? Like, when, like, people, like celebrities, are talking about stuff they have no idea. Like, so when a celebrity is on Instagram, like, pumping a stock or a crypto coin or something, it's like, ooh, it's pretty late cycle. You know what I mean? Like, the bubble's about to pop. And I kind of feel that, like, a little bit with MetaZoo. Like, I kind of feel like MetaZoo is still, like, the late cycle indicator of, like, the bull run bubble that is cardboard. But I think it's, like, salvageable. I think it's cool. People really like the art. Obviously, like, cards are selling at decent volume for what it is, and selling for crazy prices in some cases. So, there's demand there. I just think that, like, they need to bring in somebody that really knows how to run a company to do things right. I think it can be salvaged, and I think there's potential, but it seems a little wishy-washy and kind of all over the place right now, just from my unprofessional opinion.
I don't think we disagree enough on any of that stuff, and I know Nick buys some boxes here and there, and we need something where we're, like, at each other's throats about it. 3 different opinions. We got to find it by the end. I don't think MetaZoo's it.
I can probably... Yeah, I don't know. That's tough, because I agree with you too on, like, the PSA 9 versus PSA 10 thing, but I think I disagree with you that all PSA 10s are, like, overvalued, or that, like, all 9s. But, like, I feel like you've never really said that exactly either, or directly. So yeah, it's tough to find something to disagree on.
Yeah,
we're all just too reasonable. That's what it is. We don't have any hot takes.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of an asshole sometimes. I can't lie. If I'm a little angry or whatever, I can be kind of a dick in a live chat here and there, and kind of kick some spicy takes. I think a lot of it is just, like, I don't know, man. Like, it's tough. I feel like a lot of people miss stuff that's right in front of them. Like, they spend so much time doing so much research, and it's like, dude, a lot of this stuff is so simple. Like, it's just right in front of you. Like, you don't. I mean, there's a little math and like, market knowledge you need to have. But, like, dude, if you're watching this podcast, you probably have enough knowledge to make money in Pokemon. Like, sitting on your hands, doing all this research, like. I like earlier, I didn't even know what set, like, Snorlax was in, right? Like, I don't know that off the top of my head. I don't have sets memorized, you know what I mean? But, like, I'm running a successful business. Like, what information is actually pertinent to making money? Like, if you're just a collector or whatever, like, that's fine. Like, that doesn't matter. But I see people spend so much time watching so much content, asking all these questions. Like, dude, that's not even pertinent information if you're just trying to make money at all in this, in my experience. Like pop reports and market cap and, like, all this stuff, it doesn't mean anything. Like, yeah,
Or
like my trip. You guys see what I'm saying? Like it's so inconsequential to like the market cap and the distribution of this rare Japanese promo doesn't mean shit when Lugia V Star is a $15 card that you put in plastic for $15 and sell for 125. Like who cares about the JR Rally stamp? Like none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like you do all this research. I'm just kind of ranting and rambling, but it's funny to me, man.
and it's not even necessarily
No,
that
yeah,
those things are meaningless, but some of it, I've mentioned it before, that there are times where people put so much effort, so much energy into making a play that at the end of the day, like analysis paralysis. You analyze for 20 hours making a $20 play. Like, what are we? You own one box of this set. Is it going to be reprinted? And like you own one box of Evolving Sky. Should I sell it? Should I not? You like go over it for 6 months while they potentially reprint. Will they? Won't they? Some of it is way overanalyzed for sure. And there are times where I have positions in something. I have 100 boxes of something, and I'm not thinking that deeply about it because it's just not worth it. You don't have perfect information. You'll never come to a good enough solution. So just like, yeah, as you said, the obvious plays are obvious and they're just there. And if you spend more time and energy and effort just doing what's there, what you can see, what you can know, you'll be way further ahead most of the time.
Well, and it's not even too that obviously that stuff matters, right? Like I like JR Rally like cards, like I'm into that kind of stuff too. But what I'm saying is like people will do all this research and like you said, the analysis paralysis kicks in, and it's just like, dude, like keep it rocking. Like don't get so tied up in just like one specific thing. And like obviously, yeah, pop reports matter in the sense that like if a card is pop 10, it's a really popular Pokemon and it's a chase card, it's probably going to be an expensive card, right? Like I mean, didn't Gem Mint just pay like 10 bands for Ampharos or something like that? So like clearly pop reports matter, but like that one $10,000 Ampharos that took him like 5-6 years to find or whatever it was, like maybe even longer than that, that is not a business model for whoever that person was that sold him that card, right? Like there's 10 of that card. That's not a business model. Like
2, I think,
yeah,
right? 2 or
so
3,
like,
that one that he needed.
I think there's like 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know, man. Like it's tough. It really, to me, like you got to iron out like what your intentions are. Like if your intention is to just kind of like collect at a net zero and build a collection as cheap or like free as possible, because like, you know, you're buying collections, you're selling everything else out, and then you're free balling on whatever you end up keeping. Like anybody can do that. Like almost anybody can do, like you might not be able to run a 6-figure business, but I would say like it's possible for almost anybody in this chat to like make $100 to $500 net every month in Pokemon with the knowledge that they already have without watching 4-hour live streams and doing all this extra work. Like you probably know enough. And a lot of it, I feel like, is just people they're just not trusting their instincts. They're looking for like other people to affirm their purchases. Like that's what I see in a lot of the market chats. It's not like a really like well thought out, like, hey, I'm thinking of making this play. It's like, I already bought this. What do you think about it? And it's just people looking for affirmation. And like we all seek that, but yeah, like if your intention is to make money, like you need to do some research, but like you need to trust your own instincts and you need to just do it and stop like over analyzing everything. And you're gonna fall on your face sometime, you're gonna take L's, but that's how you learn and get better. Albertsons loses money, Target loses money, Walmart loses money on items, right? And adjust for it. But like at volume, these are some of the biggest companies in the world. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I like it. What do you think, old school? Anything to add?
That's definitely the biggest thing is people don't just want to take the leap and start selling. They want to make sure they're 100% perfect on every scenario that can potentially happen, and it's just never going to work out. Trial by fire is the best way to do it. Just hop on there and start selling stuff.
Yep, sure.
And part of like last thing I'll say is like in traditional finance, like day trading is much riskier and you're fighting much more of an uphill battle versus like traditional passive investing, right? In Pokemon, in cards in general, I feel like it's the complete opposite. You're taking much more risk investing and holding and hoping for price appreciation, or at least price appreciation that's gonna outcompete other investments you could have made, money you could have made in your business, inflation, all that stuff. It's, to me, it seems much more risky to invest than to continually flip, reinvest, buy new stuff, and keep it going. It's the complete opposite. And the reason for that is in traditional finance, the Fed raises interest rates by 50 basis points. There's thousands of analysts and computers with and people with PhDs that have formulas already plugged in that are going to instantly adjust to change all these new equity and asset prices to adjust for those new interest rates, the weight of debt on companies' balance sheets, yada, yada, yada. In Pokemon, that doesn't happen. Your knowledge is what creates the arbitrage opportunity, right? And like, that doesn't exist in traditional finance. So that's why you're able to make the money and realize value now. You can't go to a flea market and buy Apple for 20% under market right now, right? But you can go to a flea market and buy a minty card at, 20% below TCGPlayer low that you can see in person and know it's going to grade into a 9 or a 10, and you're going to make, you're going to realize some percentage of a margin, right? And so it's completely flipped. And so when people try to like take investing in traditional finance and compare it to this, it's not it's not a one-to-one comparison. Like they're completely flipped. I don't day trade in traditional finance. Like I invest long term and am pretty risk averse. In cards, I sell. I don't invest at all. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's just something I've been thinking about.
Yeah, I think one big thing we have.
100% agree.
One big thing we have here, if Apple stock is $100, I can't buy it for 80 and sell it for 120. I can't buy it and grade it. Apple stock is fungible. One of the worst things and one of the simultaneous best things about these things are that they're non-fungible. We can go the condition, rarity, scarcity route. We can put them in plastic. We can charge $100 for a card that's otherwise $1, $5, $10. We can buy low and sell high without the price moving. Fees are higher, like frictional costs of transacting are higher. They're a lot lower in traditional assets, and liquidity is lower. But again, you can capitalize on that. You can do like market arbitrage. You can buy on TCGPlayer, sell on Troll and Toad, buy on Troll and Toad, sell on eBay. Buy from anywhere, grade it, sell it anywhere. There's a lot more angles. And yeah, being an active participant, exactly as you said, Nick, I actively flip here and I passively invest there in tax advantaged accounts, IRAs, 401ks, and the S&P 500 and similar. That is my whole, that is fully what I do. Actively in cardboard, passively in traditional.
And then the other thing is just it's a lot easier to sell stocks. So people aren't going to sell their stocks in a bulk lot to you for 60-70%. Where with cards, it's a little bit harder to sell cards. Not as many people want to get into selling on eBay, Facebook, Instagram, wherever. So it's a lot easier to buy those collections from people at 60-70%, whatever. Where with stocks, that's not going to happen.
John Doe's got a question for you, Retro.
The terrestrialized thing, I'm not super into. I like a lot of the mid-gen EXs. The cards I've seen leaked so far don't really do it for me. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm sure there's going to be something fire that everybody's gonna like. Pokemon's making a lot of big changes, but I don't think like, oh, this is the end or anything like that. I think that might be a little dramatic.
Yeah, my personal perspective is like I'm just gonna wait and see how it goes. I'm not too I'm not too opinionated either way. Let's just see how the silver borders come. Let's see how these EX cards goes. I think every era had something unique and interesting to bring to the table. And I think if you ask me 10 years from now, hey, what did you think about the Scarlet Violet era? I think I'll have pros and cons. I think I'll have cards I liked, cards I didn't like. But overall, like they know a lot more about where we're headed than I do, and I trust Pokemon to steer us in the right direction.
Yeah, I don't follow too much information on new sets or new sets and what the cards are going to be like and all that. I'll make my opinion when I actually get the product and open it myself and kind of can see it firsthand. That's always how I've done it. I'm honestly more curious about how Crown Zenith is going to do. That's a mystery to me. It seems like it's going to be a really good set, but at the same time, I'm really curious to see how it's going to go with the 5-month release window. I think right out of the gate, it's going to be super hot, but it'll be interesting to see how like the subsequent months do, how like pricing for singles and packs will do, especially when we get, so Crown Zenith is releasing every month, and then we get the first Scarlet and Violet set. Are people just gonna forget about Crown Zenith, and then the subsequent Crown Zenith releases are just gonna plummet? Or it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
And that's what kind of happened with Generations, which I think we talked about last episode. But yeah, we'll just have to see where it goes. So old school, if you want to start with this one, question not for Dan, so I'll go last. What percentage of your total overall money should be in your Pokemon PC? I don't know if he's talking about what percentage of your cash flow should be added to your PC, or if he's talking about what percentage of your total net worth should be in your PC.
I think everyone should be like me. And it's probably honestly like 50-60%. It's a huge portion. But I think everyone should be like that.
That's your inventory though. Like, what of your true PC, like not for sale?
True PC,
like that would be your packs, your no damage Ninetales, your theme deck boxes, right?
Yeah. Maybe 30, 40, somewhere, probably closer to 40. It's probably under half, but it is still a good portion for sure, I would say.
Retro came back just in time to give his answer.
If you one more thing, if you want to like factor in like total net worth, Pokemon collection, and coin collection, it's an ungodly number. I do very little with stocks and 401k and all that stuff. You would do a lot with silver though, so it would definitely be that would probably be like 60-70% if you factor in the coins.
What do you think, Retro?
Well, not financial advice, but I mean, yeah, man, it just depends on like what your financial situation is, like where you're at in your life. If it's just for a collection, then like spend responsibly, make sure it's only discretionary income, don't overspend. It's tough. Like a lot of this stuff can get really addicting. It's fun. It's easy to go down rabbit holes. So yeah, I mean, just stay healthy and in control of your spending. But as far as like holding for long-term gain or anything like that, I can't really do it. It just doesn't appeal to me. And that's part of the reason why I can't do sealed either. Like having so much money tied up in stuff just sitting in my closet just makes me nauseous. So there's way too much money to be made right now, putting stuff in plastic for $15 a card with 1.5-2 month turnaround to be tying money up. So
yeah, and I think a common theme in these, people look for the optimal answer. Your optimal answer is not my optimal answer. Everyone has a very different scenario. I've mentioned it many times and I always will. We're in the same arena. We're all in the same arena of Pokemon. we are playing very, very different games, very different time horizons, very different financial backgrounds and situations, very different uh family situations, and like I mean, I have a wife who works a full-time job that kind of provides somewhat of a safety net. I have a stable family relationship with my parents and all that, who are financially like I have some safety nets in place if and when things were to go, so I can take different risks. I can have different risk profiles because of who I am. I still don't like do much investing, that kind of stuff long term in Pokemon. But if you take my business inventory over my total net worth, it's a very, very high number. But that's not PC. That stuff is available for sale. My sell through rate is like this year is going to be the first year there's 2 commas in the number of what I've sold between Evo and eBay and everywhere. So clearly, to maintain that, to have an inventory, I mean, you can imagine what an inventory would have to be to sustain $1 million in annual sales. Like, so if you look at it from that perspective, I'm uncomfortably high in some respects, of just because I'm young and I'm at this stage in my career. But yeah, I mean, I know people that make $200,000 a year that put 10 grand a month into Pokemon. Is that unreasonable to put 5% of your cash flow, to put 5% of your earnings into it? If you have the safety nets, if you're doing the traditional stuff, no, like I can't say that's unreasonable. I'm not doing it. I wouldn't be doing it if I were in that exact situation. But yeah, it's very personal. It's everyone can decide their own way. Just if you're doing it, if you're investing, if you're speculating, like know the risks, and money's that kind of interesting thing where if you put in 10% of your cash flow or 10% of your net worth, it's very different if you're making 50K a year as a household compared to 500K a year as a household. Because once your basic needs are met, every additional dollar doesn't do as much for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? So if you're making 30K a year and you're putting 20% in, that's way more risky in a lot of respects, even though it's a smaller dollar amount, because like you're just running on thinner margins. You're running on, like, if your furnace quits, if your car breaks down, you don't have like a lot of other things you can cut because you're just barely getting by, paycheck to paycheck. Or even if you're not paycheck to paycheck, like, yeah, it's just the way numbers scale have a very big effect on how it all should be treated.
I do think too, like, just with, collecting clothes, shoes, a lot of that stuff, like, we're wired to want to like flex, to want to buy the designer stuff, right? And so with like cards, that can lead you to have the expensive taste, and a lot of nice cards are expensive, 4 figures, 5 figures, stuff like that. And not to say that those cards aren't awesome and things like that, but you can enjoy stuff for cheap. And like, not I shouldn't say that for everybody, because everybody's going to have like different things they enjoy. But like, I picked this up on PWCC for like $11 after buyer's premium. It's like a 9. I don't think it's going to stonk out, but like, I like this card and it's like $10. You know what I mean? So I don't know, like, you can catch good stuff on auction and like have a good time and get stuff for cheap. Like, you don't always need like the $2,000 pop 7. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you can just have an art that you like, and just because everybody on YouTube isn't, talking about it or whatever, I don't know, man. Like, if you really enjoy something or whatever, like, don't worry about what people on YouTube or Instagram or Discord think. Like, if you like it, like, you like it. And it doesn't always have to be, like I said, crazy expensive. Like, it's okay to not be the person that's going to go out there and get like every altar in PSA 10, and like that's totally okay. So don't. A lot of the time, I feel like the being burnt out or resentment or things like that can just come when like people compare themselves to others. And like, I've done that too, and it's not healthy. Like, just all you can kind of do is focus on what you're doing and what you're enjoying. So sorry for the long-winded answer there, but
We got 3.5 hours to fill, so long-winded answers are welcome. The old card shop asks, are alt arts going away after Crown Zenith? Thoughts? He said the questions for Nesto, but Ernesto said he doesn't play guessing games.
I don't see
I don't
why
think it'll happen.
Yeah, I don't.
To me, it's kind of a weird thing too, like whether or not they call them alt arts. I don't even think alt arts is like a fully official thing. Like for a while they did have the promos that had the little A next to them, which did stand for alternate. Like some of the actual original alternate arts, I think were in the late Sun and Moon era, but I don't think like whether or not it's an alt art doesn't matter. They're using the full frame. They're making really cool style arts. Like I think that will be a thing in the future. Will they call them alt arts? Will they call them XYZ, Crystal, Shining, Terrestrial? Like whatever they're called, there's gonna be cool arts that utilize the whole frame. The whole, not the whole like frame box half of the card, but the entire card. So I think that'll be a thing, whatever it's called.
Yeah. Oh, do you have something to say, Nick?
No, I'm good. You can take it.
I mean, yeah, kind of like Dan said, regardless of what they call it, it doesn't really matter. They're gonna keep coming out with cool, badass stuff. So I definitely wouldn't worry about that. Like I don't know, like I remember that time when there was just the main argument in the Pokemon space was like modern versus vintage or whatever. And it's like so goofy because like at some point everything in Pokemon was modern and it was like the new hype thing or whatever, but like we still like it. And that's not to say that we're going to like stuff in Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon maybe as much as we do now in 5-10 years. Who knows? But bottom line, like Pokemon is an extremely successful, profitable company. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And the more money that they get, the more resources they have to pay artists more, to hire new creative people, to do all this and to keep on keeping on. So I would hope that with a slight price increase and things like that, yeah, like they're gonna continue to pump out premium products that people want. As far as like the 5-month gap with Crown Zenith, yeah, I mean people might get burnt out a little bit, but it would be kind of nice to have a break. And I'm sure there's a lot of businesses that are still sitting on, Brilliant Stars and Fusion Strike and Chilling Rain boxes that they would like to kind of trickle out onto the market post holidays. And get a little liquidity back before the next set rolls in. So I'm sure that'll be good for businesses and LGSs and things like that too. So
Ray said, "Artists will art." A statement I like to make.
Your best quote ever there.
I've got some good ones. That's up there though, I think.
I would say that's definitely your most memorable that I can think of.
Sorry, Earth was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was James though, wasn't it? Or was that you?
That was me.
Okay.
That was when I was talking about cracking all the slabs, maybe, and we were having the conversation on buying a card, it being shipped, and then shipped to the grading company, shipped back, crack the slab, ship it back again. Like there's a lot of not green things that go on in this hobby, but. Anyways, we got when we were talking about like where can we find some division, where can we find some like not all being on the same page. Zach had a proposal in the chat, Gem at Pokemon. Play some games, compete against each other. Who can list the most items on eBay in 10 minutes with pictures, pricing, titles, and all? If someone could put together some kind of a flipping gauntlet, like a flipping, what do they call them? Decathlon.
Flipping Olympic.
Flipping Olympiad or flipping decathlon. Honestly, one thing that came to mind when I thought about that, I forget whose channel it was posted on, but Radar, John, Cool Trainer Ryan, and PokeRev, the three of them made content. I don't know, I forget whose channel it was on, but the three of them were at a convention, I think the National, and they all had a fixed budget and they had to spend it and they went out. That was a cool video. That kind of gets back to what Nick was talking about earlier. It would be cool, like if in Orlando, maybe we need to theorize. We need to have like a YouTuber flipper challenge where I don't know what it could be. Again, I'm not super creative, but let's try to think of something creative that we can do down in Orlando that would make for a fun video.
Watch out! I'm cooking all y'all.
Yeah,
I'm
Retro.
Dangerous.
Retro with their
Dangerous
big hits. I think Retro won Denver. If you're taking as far as like. I didn't buy anything. I mean, I did well with sales wise, but he made some crazy. Check out his recent shorts. down in our description. He made some big plays.
Yeah, man. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I didn't even walk around in Denver, so I did not buy. Well, I just stuff coming to the table I bought, but that was it.
I think it's fun, man. I love wheeling and dealing. Like I always, like obviously you can't know every comp or whatever, but like if you're ballpark within 10 or 20% on stuff and you have cash ready and you're giving somebody like a fair offer, like you can get good deals. And being able to like you're able to pre-grade cards in person. Yeah. Like you're able to pre-grade cards. Like people don't understand that. And I think people are still under the mindset that all these businesses are already optimizing everything. And they don't understand that this business that I'm buying all these raw cards from is probably making 40% on me because they picked all that stuff up for 60%. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, and that's their business model. So the idea that all this stuff is already completely optimized it's not the case. And being able to look at something in person, like to me, that's the most obvious benefit. It's like, oh yeah, show me these 10 cards, pull them out of the sleeve, look at them. Is it going to 10 or is it not? Like it's simple, so don't sleep on the opportunities, people. I mean, obviously if you're like Nick, I mean, dude, somebody came up, sold him like a fossil box or something. He made like $750 in like 5 or 10 minutes and he didn't even have to move. So like,
yeah,
if you're at that level, then like, but yeah.
No, it is definitely. I love selling at the events. That's why I always vend. But it is a lot of fun walking around, seeing everything, and being able to get those good deals. Buying raw min cards, grading them, being able to make a profit, and all that. So one of these cons, I do want to go as just like a regular person and walk around and not vend. That'll definitely happen for one this year.
Real quick question from Mr. Walrus. Retro, do you return your shopping cart?
Yeah, I absolutely return my shopping carts.
So we can't go 1v1v1 on this, but I mean, what kind of every good human returns their shopping carts, so we got a 2v1 set up there. We split the Knicks on that one at least.
I feel like the only place I even really use shopping carts would be like Costco and like Home Depot or something, and it's kind of like already right there.
Home Depot, you better, because those things, man, if the wind picks up one of those monster ones, that thing will be like maiming children. That'll be maiming adults.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick, the big ones that have like the bars with the slits and the stacked plywood and stuff just comes careening at you. Yeah, like you're cooked. Your grill
Nick, do you return those ones?
Or toast.
What kind of weather are you guys shopping in where these things start moving at a fast enough speed?
We have a lot of windmills around me. I live in a windy place. I mean, there's a lot of windmills around me.
Well, maybe that's why you return your shopping carts. I live in a normal climate environment where it's not a hurricane every day.
Oh man.
The
comic.
One thing I will say too about like,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was gonna do the next question.
Say, like, I wish Collecticon, like, I mean, this is just for any convention or whatever, but I wish it was quieter so that you could have conversations with people without like screaming, especially when like the music is playing and stuff. Because a lot of time too, even if you're not making a sale, like I see Collecticon as somebody that does a lot of like niche stuff, non-Pokemon kind of stuff. Some people know what it is, but a lot of people don't. And being able to like display it and then people think it's cool and I can kind of educate them on it, even if they're not going to buy it, just kind of like showing that kind of stuff off to a bigger audience. But it's hard to have that kind of dynamic when Ice Baby is blasting and your voice is hoarse because you were up till 1 a.m. playing beer pong at Swami's or whatever, and you're like, yeah, this is a really cool card. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's kind of tough. So I wish that was managed a little better, but yeah, other than that, Collecticon's pretty sweet. So
yeah, I don't know that I'll be going to either Houston or Denver, but I believe that those are the two ones that Aoki's going to. That's slightly concerning for me from the selling side. Like, I don't know. One, I hope that his set would be limited to the same 30 minutes that Vanilla Ice does, because like that's the worst half hour of the whole weekend. The nostalgia, the music, like just turn it down. Anyone who wants it will go to the stage. Just turn it down. Like, why they play it so loud? It is insane. Because I'm always struggling. My voice is always like, I always have a drink during these long form things because my voice just like goes easily. And after a night of all that drinking, all that yelling at the beer pong table, like Nick said, I completely lost my voice during that half an hour section, and I lost sales. Like, people just leave. You can't hear them. You're like in each other's faces trying to talk, and they just leave. So yeah, like
every single show.
If Aoki's set is going to be longer than 30 minutes, or even if it's not, like, I kind of worry. Like, I didn't go to Long Beach, but I heard how packed Long Beach was, and I heard that the signing lines were so big. Like, I don't really want the signing lines. I don't really want the stage getting in the way of my table, getting in the way of like my business. Like, that's a legitimate concern. If and when Houston or Denver sell out, like, they actually had to stop sales in if they're bringing in concert goers in place of consumers, I don't want that as a seller. Like, I want and maybe some Aoki people will come to listen to the music. Oh man, I remember Charizard. Oh man, like, they'll probably buy some of them, some percentage of them, but I want like more consumers there and less concert goers. And so yeah, that's like, I don't know that I'll be going to Houston or Denver anyways, but it's a thought.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Like, why? I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say most people going to Collecticon probably aren't going for a Vanilla Ice concert, but hey, there's probably some percentage that are excited about it. And with Steve Aoki, it's I'm sure it's a much larger number for sure. But I don't, like, there's a lot, like at Comic Cons and stuff, they'll have like artist panels, or they'll have like actors that are gonna play like the upcoming heroes in the shows or whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of people, panels and stuff you could do to where it's still providing some sort of entertainment without, like you said, like diverting it to where people are going specifically for concert goers. So, yeah.
The Comic K asked thoughts.
They are.
Go ahead.
I am glad they are mixing it up from just doing Vanilla Ice every single show to having some new people at least. That'll be good.
Yeah. Where do you think the hobby will be with SV1 release in March? Despite the hauntings of a recession, this Q4 has seemed pretty strong, in my opinion, or in my experience, and I feel the hype might continue to ride with Crown Zenith. I think so much more than anytime you make a statement like this, like, some people are on your side and some people aren't. I think the broad general consensus, though, is that Pokemon is more disconnected than the broad economy than it is. And I could be wrong there. Like, maybe more people realize that. But if we continue down, if the stock market can, like, if things get dark, recession, depression wise, things could get dark in Pokemon. I think we're very tied to the broader state of the economy. Not one-to-one by any means, but it's there. So aside from any major, like, worldwide downturn, further downturn, yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. I'm long cardboard. I'm happy with where the hobby is, so I'm feeling good about it overall.
What do you think, Nick?
I think we're, like we were talking about earlier, we're in a good spot right now. I think Pokemon's just going to continue to improve, and we're going to continue to do well. Obviously, like Dan said, if there's a major recession that happens between now and March, Pokemon cards will be the kind of the first thing people stop buying, so it definitely will have an effect on the market. But aside from something like that happening, I think we're going to be continuing to see what we're seeing right now come Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, I actually watched Pal's speech this morning while I was doing like eBay listings and stuff, and like a couple things stood out to me. Like GDP, like for the first 3 quarters was like effectively flat, but then in the fourth quarter it was actually like up 3%. So economy is still growing. Employment numbers are good. Like the main thing that he has been talking about and like other that members have been talking about isn't so much like goods and commodity inflation, it's services inflation, because that tends to be more sticky, which makes sense, right? Like gas went up, but then retraced because Biden started dumping off like the SPR, Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Obviously, more supplies on the market, prices go down. So like that can be more, you know, worked out with supply chains and things like that. But like services inflation is a lot more sticky. So I think that's what they're like aiming to tackle. And like obviously it could get a lot worse, but like the underlying economy as far as like employment numbers and things like that are still pretty strong. Like savings rates are going down, so people are like saving less of their paycheck overall, and more people are taking on credit. So things like that, obviously, like not always great, but like overall, I mean, you know, I think Nick's sales are up, Dan's sales are up, my sales are up. Like the businesses continue to grow. Margins are getting a little more like normalized, but there's still plenty of money to be made. And I think if you're this engaged in the hobby, like things aren't just gonna all of a sudden overnight like go to zero. Like if it feels like thing, you know, like you're gonna get a good feel of like, ooh, liquidity seems to be slowing down a little bit. Less people are buying. Maybe the new set isn't as hot, and you know, like Dan said, like broader economy is tied to it too. Bottom line, the average consumer is spending like a little bit of their discretionary income every month, and if they have less discretionary income or they get laid off or whatever the case may be, that will, you know, trickle into Pokemon. So
You want to take this next one, Nick, and welcome Pokemano. Thanks for adding some comments. He mentions he's been a lurker for a long time. I say he, I should say they. I don't know.
Any of you ever had hand problems / pain? Recently developed RSI from sorting listing cards 10 hours a day. Not recommended. Rusty vaguely mentioned he had some issues at one point. Nothing yet for me, luckily. I will say, I forget why, but it's been a while. It was when I used to sell 1,000 count lots of basic energies, and so when I was counting those cards, my fingers would cramp up and that would hurt. But aside from that, nothing really.
Wait, you counted?
Biggest thing for me.
You counted 1,000 energies? You didn't do it by weight or by height?
Yes. No, I would always count them out.
I did 1,000 count things for a while, and I either did it by weight. Well, I have a counting scale, so you count 50 and you show it what 50 weighs, and then you just put stuff on it, and it will tell you how many it is instead of the weight. So either a counting scale or like, okay, it fits in this box perfectly. And I always round up or I round down a little bit. So like I was probably giving 1,010, 1,020. I can't believe you physically counted 1,000 energies.
Oh yeah, and I would do that. I would do that a lot too.
That's crazy. Oh man. Sorry to interrupt, but Mr. Walrus is on my side in the chat. I think we're gonna have a lot of people really surprised. No packing slips, physically counting 1,000 basic energies. Man, it's wild.
Yep. The thing for me though is my eyes every once in a while. I'm on my computer all day long. And some days my eyes will start to burn at the end of the day. So I think I'm gonna go blind one of these times with how much I'm staring at a screen, but that's my biggest thing that I can think of.
You got to get that sponsorship. Some of the non-Pokemon content creators I follow, they have like some like blue light glasses that supposedly do something. I don't know if there's actually any science behind it, but like they probably get like $5 or $10 every pair that gets sold through their affiliate link because they're probably like $50 glasses that do nothing. But you'll have to hit them up for a sponsorship.
There you go.
Nick pulls up to Orlando Collecticon in like a brand new Charger with like NASCAR gear, and it's just like lens crafters all over the car and stuff.
Oh man. Me personally, I thankfully have not had any, aside from I need to get like into better shape. I've got the dad bod in full swing. The pandemic really took away a lot of my extracurriculars. As with having children, those two things in tandem, I used to play pickup, kickball, volleyball, basketball, softball, things like that. My activity level is definitely down. Being a chemical engineer, very large parts of that was behind a screen. We had a massive building though. I was up on the second floor in the offices. I had to frequently go up and down to the production floor, 100 something thousand square foot warehouse, or not warehouse, but like production facility that I was going across. Like I was walking a lot further. I was doing a lot more actively at my old job, and I've not done a good job about filling in like exercise and work. So no like specific hand, back, any issues like that, but just weighing more than I did when I graduated college and a year ago and 2 years ago. Like I'm at an all time high for weight, which I've been kind of sitting around for a few years, and I need to get on that. I've been bad.
Yeah, exercise definitely need to add that. I've been slacking a little bit on that too. So trying to make that part of like my daily like morning routine, get up, eat, workout, do everything for eBay. And it helps a lot too. I feel like just for your general like performance and mental health. Like I can get a little like off track or scatterbrained. I feel like if I'm stressed out, and so if I'm like consistently working out and getting those endorphins, I feel like I'm a lot more clear headed and effective in business too. So.
Mr. Walrus asks, "What do you all do with your workday? Are you constantly busy?" Yeah, I mean, if I'm like not screwing around in Discord or something, like I have enough of a backlog. I have enough to do that I should never have an idle second for the next year. When I quit my job a year and a half ago, I thought that I would like get through my whole backlog, and I thought that there might be a day that I'm twiddling my thumbs looking for something to do. That is nowhere in sight still, because I just keep expanding. I keep taking on different things. Like, and the great thing about what we do, there's always something to do. Most people have a random binder that they can go through and optimize. Okay, I'm gonna sell this one there. I'm gonna whatnot consign these. I'm gonna send these to Troll and Toad. I'm gonna grade these ones. And if not, if you have literally, if every item you have is fully itemized, fully listed on eBay, nothing to take pictures of. If you have none of that to do, go source. Like you can go on Buy, go on eBay, go on Heritage, go on Golden, PWCC, go on Instagram, go, like
I'm going by
or make content too. Like you can make content. So like there's never going to come a time that I am like wondering what to do. Will there be a time I'm sitting around not doing as much as I should be? Absolutely. But I try to minimize that, obviously.
It's tough to like being into like so into the community, because like I'll be at work or like out on a job, or like I'm supposed to be doing homework or whatever, and I'm like sitting in like a live stream or whatever, like cracking jokes, or like watching something when I shouldn't be, or and yeah, so it's tough with that too. And when people are pumping out like 3 hour content like this, and you're like, oh man, like I really want to watch it and stuff, it's like it's tough, mix. You got other stuff you got to do. Like you can't hang out in Discord all day or on YouTube all day, unfortunately, and still be super productive. So and like as the card stuff is scaled, like especially this quarter, it really like affected my school, and so like going into next quarter, I need to be like a lot more tight about time management and not really let that happen. So I've had to like cut back on like Discord and different things like that, just so that I don't have like the temptation to be distracted.
Yeah. YouTube lives are the death of my productivity.
What, watching the homies get wrecked opening resealed packs maybe last night.
that was a fun one right there. That was worth skipping an hour of listing right there. But yeah, like Dan said, there is always something to do. There's too much to get done. It's never a dull moment. I can't wait for that day where I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs.
We'll let Retro start with this one because he had the Mario short that popped off recently. But any thoughts with Mario cards animated coming out next year? Exclusive European set released this year.
Yeah, so that Panini, that was the one I was talking about earlier. I think it's cool. It's a play. The fat packs is similar to like how sports product works. Like you're gonna have like your hobby boxes, and then you have like fat packs, and certain types of refractors and pulls only come out of like the fat packs, which is a little more like of an expensive product. I think I think a lot of the stuff in the regular boxes probably will get not decimated, but if you're still waiting to get boxes by now, I'm sure there's enough people making the play that just like the gold and silver and blue cards that come out of the regular boxes probably are going to be optimized, and you're not gonna do as well with those. I think the fat pack stuff is still a play. And then yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different Mario cards. Like I have a bunch of like Japanese like Bandai Carddass prisms I need to send off to BGS to get those graded before the movie comes out. I got some Mario cards signed by the voice actor in Denver. That was really cool. He's a super cool dude. Mario is Mario slept on. There's a lot of stuff like that people like they just do Pokemon and so they don't think about this stuff. But it's like Mario is a massive IP, and like look at how well Mario Pikachu did. These Mario cards are a play. I don't know how good the movie is going to be. I'm still going to go see it in theaters because I'm excited for it. But bottom line, there will be demand for those cards. I have no doubt. So.
And I'd be in trouble with my consigner if I didn't shout them out. But go check out my eBay affiliate link below. I've got some nice, almost as old as me, 1993 Super Mario World Banpresto Prism cards. So be sure to go check those out. One thing, just more like the business angle. I don't like getting into stuff because I have wholesale access to Pokemon. I have direct access to MetaZoo as a partner. I don't really like competing with the general public at general public prices. I did it too much with MetaZoo before I had the partnership, so I probably won't be making plays on anything. I'll be making less plays on things that I don't have wholesale access, just because like you don't have like a leg up. Like when I'm doing Pokemon wholesale, I have a leg up on everybody, and I can do that at such scale that it can consume all my time. I recently bought these binder collections of Naruto, DBS. That was something different. If and when a collection of these came to me and I'm able to buy a massive 50K collection for 60% of market or something like that, I won't shun something completely like that. But trying to buy something that's super hypey, super FOMO-y, right off the bat at release, I'm probably just not going to touch it. Same thing goes for Lorcana. We've been frequently asked what's going to happen with Lorcana. Are we going to be playing in it? If I have to compete on eBay with everyone else, likely not. If I can get it through my distributor, absolutely. Because I do love Disney, and I love Mario too. So much nostalgia tied to Mario, and my son is really getting into Mario lately. He's getting some Lego Mario for Christmas. I can't wait for that.
Oh, he better not be listening.
I think kind of like I see what you're saying as far as having the leg up with like the distributor pricing. The one thing I will say though is there's less competition in like the alternate stuff because less people are willing to kind of like take the leap of faith and even try it. So even if there is like a little bit less liquidity than Pokemon, the margin spread tends to be a lot better. And
Yeah.
so like you have a little bit more of a buffer if that makes sense.
Even less optimized. Yeah.
I ended up buying the boxes through Alex, like, and he lives in the UK because the boxes are literally half the price. Like on eBay, I think they're like $79.99 or $89.99, and on Panini's Panini UK website, I want to say they turned out to be like 45 or $50 shipped. So pretty close to half price. So I bought them, had them shipped to him, and then he was nice enough to ship them to me. So yeah, you're in pretty cheap at that point. I mean, basically in for like $1, $2 a card max plus cost of grading. I feel pretty safe at under $20 a card with stuff like that. And I think like a lot of it too, just with anything with Pokemon, like it's just math. Like I hear so much people talk about like, well, what if Pokemon reprints it, and what if this happens? And it's like especially now that it's not the boom anymore. I just feel like the math is so much more predictable, even with like the obvious stuff. Like I've heard people that are like, oh, well, the UPCs, everybody thought they were going to be free money, and then they turned out not to be. Like they absolutely were still free money. Like even if the cards were cooked and you couldn't grade any of them, you still made money on it. Like so, so now that things are way less volatile, like you can buy rainbow V-Star cards, and it doesn't matter. Like I say, it doesn't matter. Obviously, there's nuance, and it does matter, but like it doesn't matter as much as people think it does that Pokemon reprints Brilliant Stars. It's still a Rainbow Charizard. There's going to be more supply on it, and yeah, the price is probably going to come down on it a little bit. But you, as a potential buyer, then somebody that's going to grade it, you're probably going to be able to buy it for cheaper now too. And if you're buying it at like $75, you're grading it at $15, you're in it 90, and it's a $250 card now. Even if they reprint it and it drops down to 150, you're still making 50%. So like, what's the issue? Like, it's such simple fucking math. Sorry for cussing. Like, it's so simple to sit and like overthink this stuff. It's just like, dude, like it. And maybe like that's easy for me to say or whatever. And like, obviously there are plays where people are going to get burned. But I mean, shit, dude, like here we are where character rares, like Japanese character rares are selling for like $30. And those are like 99 cents, $2 on Buy-E. And you can buy massive lots of those. Mm-hmm. At $15, you're still doubling your money before fees, like on a character rare, dude. So it just, yeah, like I don't know. Like it feels a lot safer to make those plays now than it probably was in like 2020 when everything was just like all over the place. But now it's like, dude, Pokemon's doing the work for you. Just put it in plastic. Like, that's it. Like, that's it, you know?
So I was going to ask for permission, but I figured I'd just throw it up there. You guys should see it now. I had to share this unreleased thumbnail, this meme that was born by my thumbnail creator, when I heard Retro talk about the ultra premium Charizards. You guys should see it on screen now.
Yeah, I mean that's how I felt, dude. I saw like all these people peeked at you, and he was like, "Oh yeah, man, like I ended up getting 9s." It's like, okay, dude. Well, did you sell the dice, the coins, the sleeves, the playmat, and the 16 pack? Like, did you completely forget that too? Like, it just. Oh man, it's like you were in for so cheap to sit and think about that forever. And I mean, they still got printed to the ground, and it's still a plus EV product when you break it down. Like, yeah, man. It's just, and if you do end up getting a card that's worth grading, send it at $15 and you're still gonna print by the time it comes back. I didn't even go as hard on V-Star Universe singles as I wanted to, but the main cards I focused were the Sleeping Charizards. I just bought a ton of them. And most people would be like, oh, well, you know, there's so many UPCs printed. Who's going to want that? I promise you that card's going to be the most liquid thing I bought. I bought the trainer cards and the other full arts too, but I promise you the Sleeping Charizard will be the easiest seller. Like, stop overthinking stuff, folks. Like, just go, you know, like, trust your instincts and just go with it. Like, yeah.
Oh, boo-hoo, you made money, to sum it up.
Yeah, like, oh, no.
What do you think, Nick, on the Mario?
I won't be doing anything with Mario. I've never been a big Mario person. The only Mario games that I semi enjoy is like Mario Kart. Even those, I don't know. I'm just not a Mario person. So I definitely won't be doing anything with those. For me, the only stuff that I do make any type of plays with is stuff that I actually enjoy myself. So like the Disney Lorcana, definitely get into that because I love Disney. Ideally through a distributor, but even if I have to buy boxes on eBay at whatever inflated price, I'll definitely still buy at least a few boxes just to open for fun. Ideally, pricing will be a little bit cheaper and I'll be able to buy more. But we'll see what happens with that. But Mario definitely pass for me.
Yeah, I might buy a little bit just as a consumer to rip, to scratch that collector boy itch. My wife loves Disney way more than I do. We're actually probably gonna do a day in Disney before we go to Orlando. We're probably gonna go there Friday. And I love Disney. I watched all the movies growing up. We had all the VHSs, but not nearly as into it as her. But I have been 3 times in my life to the Florida Disney. At some point, I need to make it to the California one too.
You're going to Disney, but you're going to the worst theme park ever.
See, that's the
Who goes to
one.
Magic
Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom. That's what I meant. Yeah.
we
Magic
went.
Kingdom's the best one.
So in 2017, we went to a wedding, and I went to Disney in '98 and '03 growing up, and then I went in 2017 with my wife around a wedding, and we did 2 or 3 days. We did Universal as well. Animal Kingdom was the one park we missed. So just the kind of complete, like, I don't know. It's probably not my favorite park of any of them, but it's the one we haven't done. It's the one I haven't done I forget when Animal Kingdom was made. I don't really remember going to it back when I was younger. Is it newer than that?
I want to say it's one of the newer ones, but it's still been there for a long time.
Oh, it opened in 1998. So I went in, like, if I remember correctly, like winter break, kind of like the same time frame we're going with Orlando Collecticon. This said it opened in April 1998. So the first time I went, it probably wasn't open. I went in like February of '98, and then I went again in '03. So we probably did do Animal Kingdom. I don't really remember too much specifically from that. But yeah, that's probably the one we'll do, just because for completion.
There we go. That's an acceptable reason, I guess.
Charvy said, "Take it easy on character rares, bro. That's my time." It's a good play, man. Like it is. It's funny, man. It's just yeah.
How big Pokemon is, like, you can pick a niche and you can have something like that be your, like, I'm sure there's a lot of meme in that post, but you can legitimately do like so much business in just one aspect of the hobby.
Bro, Weedle's Warehouse. I don't know if you've talked to him or you know him, but like, homie, he's in like this Final Fantasy Discord that I ran, but I did not know that he was like such a printer until I found his eBay. His entire business model is Japanese chase cards, modern, sending them to CGC and being like first to market, and he prints big time. Gets the perfect 10, pristine 10 premiums out the gate. Still makes money on the 9.5s on the popular stuff. Maybe still making $1 or $2 on the 9s out the gate. Like, it's solid business model, dude. Super easy. Never has to worry about sourcing. He just waits for a new set to come out, targets of cards, buys hundreds of them. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
I just checked and I see he has a black label 001 SV-P. So he hit a black label on that. Yeah. And he is he's actually going to Orlando as well. Nick and I are we each booked a section. He's attempting to book a half a section, hopefully in close proximity to us, so he'll be there as well.
Yeah, hopefully we're all next to each other.
That actually leads well into the next question from Mr. Chonkachu. Is the overhead always worth the cost to set up at the cons? A lot of that just comes down to what you bring, what kind of sales you make. Me personally, I always make a breakdown video afterwards. This is what my flights were. This is what my hotels were. This is what I sold. This is what I brought. And so far, I've always done well. Theoretically, there could come a day where I just bring the wrong stuff. The right people don't come. The whatnot seller doesn't come through and buy me out. There might be one, but there's other angles too for me personally. I'm getting out business cards. I'm getting my name out there. I'm meeting and interacting in person with a lot of friends and business associates in the hobby. There's a lot of angles for it. So for me personally, the answer is always yes, but it's a very personal one. If I spent $1,000 to go, flights, hotels, table, and I didn't sell anything, it would be a worthwhile trip for me from so many angles. So yeah, that's kind of more of a personal answer on what you're looking for, what you're looking to get out of it. And I will say quickly before these guys go, we have about an hour left. We're going to go till about 4:30, so I just want to put that there. We've been staying within 10 to 20 minutes of chat, so we've not gotten like way behind yet, which is good.
We're doing pretty good today. We're doing pretty good. For me, if you're just talking about the trip from a sales perspective, making the most amount of money possible, personally, I would say it's actually not worth going. And the reason why I say that is because, for me anyway, I have to shut down my eBay store for the time that I'm away, because I don't want to be selling stuff at the con that's listed on eBay and then not being able to ship that item and all that. So I got to shut my eBay down for the time that I'm away at the con. And then probably like the Tuesday, so like for Orlando, I'm going to be going Thursday, coming home Monday. So the Tuesday through Wednesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday before Orlando, I'm going to be getting everything ready, pricing everything. And then a couple days when I get back home from Orlando, it's going to be breaking everything down, getting it back set up for eBay. So it takes like a 2-week period between prepping the actual event and then breaking down, just devoted to that one convention. And I'm selling a good bit at these conventions, but it's also, I could sell a good bit on eBay as well. Typically, the best time for me in sales on eBay is during the weekend, and that's always when these collecticons take place. So if you're just looking at it from a money perspective, I would say probably not in the situation like mine. But then, like Dan was saying, if you combine it with the fact that you're also networking with other people, you're handing out business cards, you're meeting people that you've built relationships with, and people who watch your YouTube channel and all of that stuff, then it becomes more worthwhile. I always gain like a whole bunch of Instagram followers and a couple of YouTube followers when I go to these conventions, because I'm handing out a ton of business cards, people are taking stickers, all that fun stuff. And then plus you're getting to hang out with everyone that we know on YouTube, like everyone in the chat, Dan, Retro. So it's a really fun time too. So when you combine all of those aspects, it is 100% worth it. But if you're just talking about like the business and sales side, probably not actually.
Have you ever contemplated before Retro goes, like what I do? I think I'll never take more than one table, because I have like 1,500 listings on my eBay, and I don't want to bring hundreds of slabs. One, logistically, it's just hard to bring them. Two, I don't want to shut my eBay down. What I do is I go on a 3 or 4 day vacation mode. I used to only ship twice a week, and I didn't even have to go in vacation mode. But now that I ship 5 times a week, every day, Monday through Friday, I have to. So have you ever thought about just like, maybe I'll go one table and I'll just delist the 100 slabs that I bring, and I'll just bring like extra quantity, like, because you bring booster boxes, you don't have to delist your Lost Origin booster boxes when you have 30 of them and you're only bringing 12 of them, or whatever the case may be. Like, because like when I hear you say all that, like that sounds like a very expensive con for you. You like, if I thought about losing an entire week of eBay sales, I wouldn't go. I probably wouldn't go. I wouldn't be able to justify it. So I just wanted to like add a further question on that. Have you ever just considered, instead of doing half a section, 3 tables, whatever you do, scaling it down, doing 1 table, and then not like losing thousands of dollars in eBay sales?
It's not so much the amount of inventory that I'm bringing. It's just the fact that I'm away for 4 or 5 days for each of these conventions. I guess the ideal scenario would be to fly in Friday, leave Sunday night. That way I don't have to shut down my eBay store. I could leave it open, but then that takes away from the fun of the convention and actually being able to go out and see these different cities and hang out with people and all of that. That it turns it into more of a business trip. But doing it the way that I do it, going for 4 or 5 days, even if I just delisted the cards that I had with me to sell at the convention, I would still want to shut down my eBay store just so that way when I come home, I don't have 1,000 things to ship out. So I guess part of it's my choice on why the eBay suffers when I go to these conventions. But it does work out in the end.
1,000
And the other thing with that is
would be a nightmare.
yeah, for sure. The other thing with that is I did one table in Denver and it was fun still. I still enjoyed it, but I did regret not having more than one table. So I think going forward I need to have multiple tables for sure. How about you? How about you, Retro? What are your thoughts on that?
It was like a little crazy. Like, hotel was like $900. I was like, dang. So like as far as the business side of it goes, I think that's part of the reason too why I was like so aggressively sourcing. I mean, like I made good sales, like especially at the end when all the whatnot people came through, and that was really nice. But like you said, I mean, you could just make those sales on eBay too. So a lot of it is going to be what you make it. Like the con is what you make it, whether you're sourcing raw cards, whether you're networking with somebody that you could potentially do business with in the future. It's kind of going to be like what you get out of it is going to be, like the effort that you put into it. So.
Mm-hmm.
And right as I say how we were like within 20 minutes of chat, we had like lengthy answers to some questions, and now we're like 30 minutes behind.
That's why I'm like, all right, I'll be less long-winded and see if we can catch up a little bit here.
Cameron
there's some
Tafor
questions that have been asked. So,
yeah.
Sorry.
I'll try to get to all of them. Cameron Tafor, Low Pop Pokey asks, how much of a percent drop do you think my collection will experience within 5 years? Given my collection is primarily PSA 10 WotC Unlimited Hollows and EX era PSA 10 Hollows. Such a crystal ball question. And honestly, Cameron, we've had so many conversations about where we stand on these. I get them. I'm happy to sell them. I've made many sales to Cameron. It could go down 80%. It could double in the next 5 years. It could double. It could 3x in 5 years. I have no idea, honestly. My business perspective, I am very happy when I hit the 10s and I sell them on and I continue on. I don't honestly put too much thought in the answer to this question. As I said earlier, I put my energy into what I can control. This is not relevant to me as a business. And part of the reason is by design. I don't invest, I don't speculate long term because no one has the proper information needed to get to the right answer. What information do I have? I have the information that when I buy a $48,000 binder collection, I can flip and turn that into tens of thousands of dollars of profit. I have the information that when I spend tens of thousands of dollars on a new set release at my wholesale distributor, I can flip that into the money for 10, 20% profit, whatever it is. So I don't have perfect information anywhere, but the most imperfect information I have is multi-year speculation on prices. So I just do less business there. I guess that's the most complete way that I can answer it.
I would just say like there's something that's awesome about like getting something that's like really low pop or like grading a pop 1 or something like that. Like that feels really, really cool. And obviously like you have less data points like working against you when there's less of a card out there. I would just say like financially the card could like not appreciate or depreciate and you're still losing money on it, just when you factor in like opportunity cost and inflation and stuff like that. And so that's why I think the most important thing should be that you just like genuinely love it and want to have it. And then the financial side of it is just kind of like the secondary, right? Because if you're relying on that, I think that's where like things start to get a little bit risky. I mean, like could things go up? Like, yeah, absolutely, sure, but you do have to factor in opportunity costs. And with a lot of the low pop items, because of the way that the market dynamic is around that kind of stuff, like a lot of premium is being realized by the grader and seller of that card. And so I feel confident grading and selling that card, and netting that premium that I can realize today, rather than like hoping that it's a good buy and it's still undervalued after I'm paying this like massive premium to have it graded, if that makes sense. So but blue chippy kind of stuff, popular Pokemon, like obviously I'm going to feel more confident in that than some other type things, like an unlimited low pop Watsy. I do feel like a lot of that stuff in 10 is going to have a floor, because that's a lot of the kinds of items that like the whales are attracted to and are probably going to pick up if those prices start getting too low. So yeah, I guess that's all I would say. What do you think, Nick?
To your point a lot, where you get people, nothing against Cameron, but people need to stop thinking of their collections as investments. I always go back to the Shadowless Charizard example. I had, back in like 2011, 2012, I was 99% business and like 1% a collector. And at the time, not being a collector, I loved Shadowless base set at the time. So I was trying to build a PSA 10 Shadowless base holo set, and I bought the Charizard for, it was like $450 at the time. And because I was more of a business looking at the financial side, when that card got up to like $900, $1,000, I saw that I could double my money on that card, and I thought it was fantastic, so I immediately sold it. And looking back now, that was an incredibly stupid decision. I should have held on to that card, knowing the rarity of it and all of that stuff. So should have held on to it, but because I was looking at my collection as an investment, I made the wrong decision. Where now I more appreciate the stuff in my collection. So if it ever doubles, triples, quadruples in price, it's a lot harder for me to sell that stuff. So I think that's like the best way to go about it, is to just appreciate the cards in your collection for what they are, stuff that you enjoy, and long term you're probably going to end up doing well on it if you truly enjoy what you have. It's probably going to increase in value over time if Pokemon continues to do well. I think that's the best way to look at it, and don't focus on how much your card's increasing, decreasing on a daily, weekly, monthly, even yearly basis. Just buy it and forget about it for years.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. That like if you like genuinely like it and genuinely want it, and like if you're patient and try to get either like a good best offer, or like catch it on auction, or buy it direct on Instagram or something like that, you can still buy. And if you're buying smart, I guess you can probably still do well. I mean, even it all just depends on like what your goals are. Like if you're trying to be a business, it's just not your incentive to hold anything, right? Like it's like saying heirloom tomatoes are higher quality and have better fundamentals than like mass-produced store-bought tomatoes. And like, yeah, that's absolutely true, probably, right? But like Albertsons doesn't care. They're about turning over the tomatoes. So like they're just going to do what pencils. Like that's what makes sense to them, right? Like their business model is not to sit and hold these heirloom seeds because they think they're going to do well over time. So it depends on like what your intention is. And if you genuinely like aren't trying to do a business and you're just doing this with like this discretionary income, you're collecting, you're being patient, you're not like overspending, and you're like doing a lot of research, hanging out in channels like this, like you're probably going to do okay. And even if you're buying like modern sealed booster boxes, like if you're engaged and you're getting in at decent prices relative to what people are buying from distributors and things like that, you're not always going to hit home runs, but like you're probably going to do okay over time, But like when you think of it as just like a primarily an investment, like that's where, like Nick said, it could just get dicey and get a little bit risky. And that doesn't mean that things aren't going to go up, or that cards aren't cool, or that there isn't going to be continued demand. It's just locking up money there and hoping for appreciation is risky in these things, you know, no matter how popular or how good of a card it may be. So,
and some of this gets back to the same arena, different games. I think Cameron, like Nick and I are full timers. I think Retro, you are way more into flipping than Cameron. And he has made some flips though. He's made some big low pop flips that he's talked about in Discord. But different, completely different financial background, completely different thing. This is mine and Nick's directly livelihood. This is our paycheck. So we just interact with it differently, and that's fine. Like, it's very fine for people to have different ways they interact with it, and we're all going to have different outlooks. We're all going to have different strategies and plays. And the biggest things that I worry about are if people are just oblivious or ignorant of like risks, or and I don't think Cameron falls into that camp. So I'm not worried for Cameron, even if he finds himself in the scenario where it falls 50% or 80%. I think he knows those risks well, and he doesn't need them to 5x, and he's not carrying them on 30% credit cards. He doesn't need them to perform, to like have a good financial life. Old school, if you want to take this, what are your 3 favorite aspects of trading cards unrelated to money?
That is a tough one right there. No, because for me, the business portion is the vast majority of Pokemon. I would not be in this hobby if it weren't for the eBay business. Not money aside, I truly enjoy every minute, or basically every minute of the business portion. It's something that I love doing. But if you had to take that aside, I guess one of them would be my business model of being surrounded by cards. I love that, having just cards everywhere. It's overwhelming at times, but at the same time, it's really cool. Borderline like hoarder mentality, I guess. I would never want to go back to having a very small inventory or doing just high end. Having a small inventory like that just doesn't sound fun to me. I like buying those huge pin collections and spending days going through all those pins and buying these big bulk collections and sorting through cards and stuff like that. So that would be one of mine. And then the other 2, I guess a second would be opening modern packs. I do enjoy that, just being able to throw something on Netflix, open the newest set, see all the artworks. Same thing, sort through all the cards. I honestly find that very relaxing. So I do enjoy that aspect of it. And then third, I'd have to think about a third one. Those would be my 2 biggest ones that I could think of off the top of my head. I'll let one of you guys go, and I'll think of a third one.
I can hit mine quick. Nostalgia. I mean, these were parts of my childhood, so that has nothing to do with money, but that's huge. And then just artwork, like appreciating the art that is on these cards. It's beautiful. Like I collect coins too. I used to do more business in coins, and I love coins for their beautiful artwork. So those are a couple quick ones. And then a third one, just like, it's not directly about money, but as a business, I've done business in video games. I've done business in coins, beer steins, and trading cards. Trading cards are the best ones logistically to do business in. Coins, a close second. I guess coins are right on par with trading cards. But logistically, storing them, handling them, they're small, they're easy to ship. I did beer steins. Those things are a nightmare. So hard to ship and so expensive to ship. So that one's indirectly related to money, I guess, but I'm going to count that as my third. Nostalgia, art, and then just logistically, like handling them, how small they are.
Yeah, trying to keep it quick. Like definitely art for sure. It's a blessing to be able to like effectively be like a nostalgic art dealer. I like the people, like the community that like comes from it, and the fact that you can all share passions that overlap into, you know, other stuff, sports, anime, TV shows, like whatever, and you can kind of make uh cool lifelong friends. And then the third thing, like I'm just financial brain, so I like that you can kind of apply, you know, basic economic principles to like to these markets. Like that is fun to me. It's not necessarily about the money making, but it's that you can apply like a lot of these principles to something that that you also love. So, and like you can be creative with it, right? Like some plays that I'm going to try next year, I'm really excited to make, not because I think that I mean, they might be super illiquid because they're really niche and they might sit forever, but I'm excited to make them because they're cool to me. Like, I really think the items are awesome. And yeah, like you were an engineer. Like that is super hardcore, like all logic, probably very little creativity outside of like updating different processes to make them more efficient and things like that. So like being able to use creativity in your everyday business, like that's pretty cool. So
I would echo you as my third. Definitely the friendships that I've built from Pokemon and hanging out with people at these different conventions and being able to travel to two different places for these conventions. That's another really fun aspect.
Shiny Light Bulb had one for you, Retro. I heard you mention previously that you have a primary business not related to cards. What is it? Sorry if you answered earlier. We'll rewatch later if you did. And also, I don't know if you mentioned this on your YouTube at all. Like, you don't have to share that if you don't want to.
it's, I don't care. I run a consulting firm basically for like producers and processors, like state licensed producers and processors of cannabis. So basically, like I go around to businesses and I make them successful. Like I'll train staff. I know a lot of the people that like own the retail storefronts. So I'll work to get like a production facility like up to a certain level of quality, try to get them away from pesticides, get them using like more organic inputs for nutrients, and then incentivize them to do those things, because then I can link them with, you know, my buddies, the people I know that run these high-end retail stores, and if they're producing high quality clean things, then, you know, they have like a guaranteed contract with these retail stores. So just like a lot of that, basically, like I said, training staff, helping them with financials, helping them with networking, basically like making businesses work in the cannabis space is what I do full time. So
Garvey has a serious question for us. Since Pokemon is on its way down to pretty much zero, are you also bearish on other IP/cards overall, or just Pokemon? I don't know if this is to one of us in particular, but as I said, I'm bullish on Pokemon long term. Long cardboard, short plastic. That's where I'm at.
I'm pretty much just in Pokemon. I don't do anything else outside of Pokemon. But for Pokemon, I think it's here to stay. I wouldn't say I'm bearish in Pokemon either.
I think we're chilling. I think we're doing just fine.
Yeah. DNA has a question for Retro. The new Japanese singles seem to have this weird cut issue on the top of them. Have you seen them? If so, what are your thoughts on them grading that air quotes damage?
Yeah, I have seen that. I think I know exactly what he's talking about. Like on the tops of the cards, it almost looks like where there's like little dings or indents. I haven't done like enough of it yet to get like a real good idea as far as the sample size goes, but I did send off a bunch of like Rainbow, Lugia, Charizard, and Mewtwo V stars. So, and some of them did have that, but the card looked pretty minty otherwise. So I'm interested to see how PSA will handle that, if they'll deduct for it, or if they'll kind of just see it as like a manufacturing error, because it's not real like damage or whitening, but I do know what you're talking about. So hopefully they get that fixed.
And I don't have anything to add on that, not really knowing. I will say quickly, though, I'm going to grade some of my Magic 30th that I opened, and there's like almost a weird rolled edge on some of them. I don't know if it's the same thing, but some of the edges are just kind of weird looking, almost like my full art Pikachus that I had that actually graded like PSA 9. DNA had a question for us. Do you ever try to source specific cards to grade into high grades online, or do you primarily do collections and just try to grade backlog? It's been a while since I've sought out like specific cards, but from time to time I do. I mean, I love the Burn Tower card. There was a time where I was going for Burn Towers and Scream promos and Masaki cards, and you might have an idea what website I use to source it that I get a look from Retro every time I say it. But that's not a play I'm like actively making right now. I do greatly prefer the wholesale modern play, just buying things in massive bulk and making margin, or just buying massive binder collections like this recent Pokemon / non-Pokemon binder collection buy I made. That's my bread and butter, more so.
Yeah, I'm the same way there. I don't think there was ever a time where I was chasing raw singles to grade. It's always been buying collections, grading the mint cards, selling everything else. Now that PSA is kind of back to normal, definitely going to start grading more modern cards from packs that I open. Before it was just kind of grading like the very best alt arts, but now that we're kind of getting back to normal pricing and normal turnaround times, definitely going to be grading more modern cards from the packs that I open. But yeah, never really got into searching for singles to grade.
We had a really quick question. Have any of you ever had a slab get damaged in shipping? Maybe 2 out of 10,000 plus sales. Very, very infrequent. I actually was talking about this morning in Discord. I've had people that receive an item in perfect condition as sold, and they get like upset with me because I didn't pack it well enough. And I'm like, you're saying I didn't pack it well enough when it made it to you in perfect condition. What are we doing here? Blows my mind how some people will just go out of their way to victimize themselves. But yeah, overall, double bubble mailer will do everything you need it to do. Like, people way overthink packaging a lot of times.
Yes. Yeah, I've it's happened, from what I can remember, it's happened twice to me where it just got absolutely destroyed. And I had to refund them, but aside from that, it very, very rarely does stuff get actually damaged in transit. Biggest thing for me is stuff getting lost. I mail a lot of PWEs, and those get lost on occasion, but first class mail, priority mail, very rarely does stuff get lost even. People need to have more faith in USPS.
I don't even use slap sleeves, dude. Like, I basically I've never had any issues, but like I get these eBay bubble mailers. Like sometimes I'll pay for the cheaper ones, but like these fold in half. You put the slab right here, so you kind of get like double protection or whatever. But like I've never had an issue. If it's an expensive card, I'll put it in a box or something like that. But I don't do cardboard and then wrap it. And it's like, I don't know. Like I've never had an issue, and I've never had an issue with stuff being sent to me. So yeah,
At 750, when you have to add signature, I go into a small flat rate box. I will say that. So I go into a small flat rate at 750. Other than that, though, Above 250, eBay is going to repackage it for the final part of the voyage to the customer, so it doesn't even really matter as long as you get it to them. Yeah, but I think we have a fair bit to go. I'm going to try to rapid fire a couple of these. Mr. Chonkachu asked, what age did you guys get started in this business? I started my eBay in 2004 at the age of 14, selling some of my video games because EB Games or whoever it was didn't offer me enough money. And I kind of learned eBay selling my old video games and Pokemon specifically 2014. I talk enough about that on my channel if you care to hear more about it.
Yeah. I wish I still had my original eBay account. I started in 2009 and then shut my eBay store down, or shut my eBay account down because I was done with Pokemon in like 2013, 2014. And then started my second eBay store in 2016. But when I originally started, I was a sophomore in high school, whatever age that is.
I only really started taking this like super serious as a business like towards the tail end of last year, and then like really kind of went full bore with it the beginning of this year. So, but I like got back into the hobby in like, you know, late 2020 like most people.
This is one that I almost missed from Mr. Chonkachu as well. Is it wise to use borrowed capital to scale? This feels like such a slow grind. I often imagine that I could just 10x if I had available working capital. This is very much a risk tolerance thing. The way that I am financially, I do not like risk. I paid off my house early. I have no debt of any kind aside from the small bit I carry month to month with free 0% interest loans through my credit card as long as you pay them off in full statement date. So yeah, like, is it wise to? That is a very personal answer. It depends on your backstops. It depends on like what you have. If it going wrong can put you on the street, and if it can lose financial security and safety for your family, it is unwise. If you have certain things in place, and if you have a wife that works a job that you guys could survive on that salary, the more safety nets, the more like backstops you have, the more wise you could argue it being. Like, I'm in a place honestly where I could take more risks than I do, but I still don't because I just don't like debt. I don't like playing in debt. It does magnify everything though. People who indebted themselves in 2019, if you put 100K on a HELOC or on credit cards in 2019, you made out really well in 2020 as long as you sold. If you put in, if you did all that a year later in 2020, and then the prices have done what they've done now, you got destroyed. Like, there are people who ruined their financial futures for their family, for their kids, doing this stuff on debt with cardboard. So that's why I don't play in debt. But it's very like there's no yes or no to this. It's very personal.
Yeah, I think you covered that one good. I feel the same way. When you start taking out loans and having to pay interest and worry about that stuff, it adds a whole lot more. It's more stuff that you have to worry about, and I don't like having to worry about paying a bill or anything like that. So, me personally, I wouldn't do that. I would just use the money that you have available and buy everything in cash, or not so much cash, but like money that you have available. Yeah, that's what I would do. I don't like the idea of having a loan for the business.
Yeah, just keep it quick. Like I totally agree. And like it does kind of suck when you're starting out because a lot of things are a function of like how much, you know, available capital you have. But I think that you need to start out grinding and like you need to like build it up. And as much as it sucks, like you're gonna have to do stuff where you're making 50 cents here, 20 cents there, $1 there until you get enough of you know, capital reserves to where you know you can buy more. And eventually over time, if you're, you know, working harder, you're buying smart, your time is going to become more and more valuable, right? Like you're going to be making more per hour over time. But like when you're starting out, I think it's important to kind of like go through that grindy stuff to generate capital rather than taking it out on leverage or credit. And And in like economics, there's like a theory of like protectionism, and that like if a business needs to be like stimulated to survive, it's probably not a good business to begin with. So yeah, safer to just kind of like work your way up and, you know, cut your teeth, I guess.
Looking at the live chat, Charvy shared a nice little anecdote. His personal experience with that. DNA question for Nick and Dan. Don't you think vending at cons is good for moving dormant inventory? My strategy for conventions is selling mid to high end stuff. I don't really like strategically bring dormant inventory by any means. Some of it may be, but anything that's mid to high end, anything that I'm afraid to sell online for whatever reason. I'm afraid to sell guaranteed heavy, guaranteed hollow packs on eBay. So I sell them at conventions. So those are my like two primary things. Mid to high end slabs and then heavy packs, because part of that too, it just aligns well. People are at an event, people want to gamble. I'm there with the cheapest heavy packs around. So that's what I bring to cons.
Yeah, a lot of what I bring is graded cards, modern packs. So it's stuff that does well on eBay for me. But the nice part is you're getting those cash sales. You don't have to worry about shipping. So that it's more so those advantages. I've never tried to bring like dormant eBay inventory to see how it does at these conventions. That might be interesting to try out too. Like stuff that's like not selling on eBay. Would it sell at a convention? I'm not sure on that. I might try and bring some stuff like that for Orlando. See how it goes.
Anything to add on what you bring in your strategy, Retro, for conventions?
I would just say like on Japanese nines that I'm probably, you know, listing for $29.99, maybe making a buck or breaking even on, like stuff in that range. Now that like I've seen what whatnot sellers do, I'm down to bring maybe like 10 or 20 of those kinds of items and keep them in my backpack for when I'm like making a big deal with somebody and be like, hey, like, do you want, you know, 20 of these at like $25 a piece, to where like I'm actually netting like a little more than I would on eBay. So like that kind of stuff I might be interested in. But yeah, so I guess that's all I would say.
Fat Belly Gengar asks, all my local shows are sports card shows. Do you think if I had Marvel and Pokemon at these sports card shows, I'd do well? I would be completely guessing. You could, being the only game in town for Pokemon. Are these sports guys bringing their kids? Might you be able to entice some dads to open their wallets for their kids that get excited when they see Pokemon at a sports convention that they're walking around not giving a crap about any of it? Like, could be. I'm completely guessing. But yeah, if you're the only shop in town and people are interested in it, anecdotally, I've heard of some people in Discords like talking about, hey, I set up at my local convention. I was the only guy doing Pokemon and I killed it. Like I did really well. So could be a thing.
Yeah, it could go either way for sure. Recently there was a big sports card show up in my area, and there were a few people who vended with Pokemon stuff there. And the people that I talked to said they did really good. There was actually a decent bit of people there looking for Pokemon, so they absolutely killed it at the show. But on the flip side, I don't know if Zach's still in here, but if he's still in here, me and him together did it was supposed to be a show that was like sports cards and TCGs down in Tampa a couple of years ago, and that was absolutely terrible for the both of us. Very few Pokemon buyers, very few sales. So sales-wise, it was an absolutely terrible thing to go to. But we had a lot of fun. It was a great time. So it was worth it for the trip. But sales-wise, it was absolutely terrible.
Jarvie says, is there anyone you couldn't take in a fight? Anyone in the hobby you couldn't take a fight? I look around, seems super easy to me. I worry about that Charvy guy. I think I could take everyone but that Charvy guy. He seems too confident with this question. Now, there's some big dudes, though. As a big dude, there's some big dudes in the hobby.
I'm all set on trying to fight Echo, bro. That guy is super swole.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Oh.
I think we're getting close. Let me see what the next question is. Mr. Walrus says, can't believe people collect coins. Those things are meant for vending machines. Honestly, 10, 20 years, like there have been pushes by, I mean, certain nations, I think, have done away with the 1 cent equivalent, the 1 cent analog. We've been in discussions to do away with the penny. And 10, 20, 30 years from now, it's an interesting dynamic. I've had a conversation along these lines with some coin collectors. And kind of there's an analog to Pokemon. What happens if and when they stop creating physical coinage? What happens if and when to paper money collecting, if and when they stop making physical paper money? That could be a reality in the coming decades, in our lifetimes. And I don't know the answer, but it's a very interesting thought experiment. And it's kind of analogous. What happens if and when they quit producing trading cards? Say we go into the Matrix, say we go into the, what do they call it? Web 3.0, the, I can't think of the right word, but yeah, say we move away from physical tangible, say we go away from trading cards and it's all just an online and crypto and NFTs and whatever. Like, I don't think we're going to get there, but if we did and they stopped making Pokemon in our lifetimes, like what would happen to all that? It's just interesting to think about. I think we're caught up.
Wow. Still have 15 minutes left.
So B Purple Poker asks, what happens when yellow borders are gone? I don't think anything drastic happens. I don't think immediately yellow goes to the moon because it's the OG, it's vintage. That's like maybe 30 years from now, people will look back and like we always try to like split up the eras through, okay, we got the original, we got the Neo, we got the, that will be like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, if they're still doing silver borders. Oh, like that was the split. Like in people's minds, that might be when they delineate vintage with super vintage, with mid-era, with modern, with like, that might be a delineating factor. It's an easy thing to just mentally point towards, but what does that mean exactly? Who knows? Like, I'm sure there'll be people thinking really deep into it, like, oh, well, this is the rookie appearance of this guy in silver border and first appearance this, that, silver border. That's thinking too much into it, in my opinion, but yeah. My quick thoughts on it. Anything to add?
It's not gonna have any effect. I'm sure there are people who are disappointed, but will they stop collecting? No. So it's not gonna have any effect.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I do think that as soon as those codes expire, I think special delivery Charizard is going to start ticking up next year in price. So
There we go. Making some calls.
yeah, oh man, I can't. Yeah, it would be different if the codes were still usable, but the fact that you absolutely cannot use codes anymore after the end of the year, and you know, I think you said it on a podcast or something, but there might be like a fat stack of those sitting somewhere that haven't been distributed that Pokemon hands out at different events or whatever. But I think it'll start to move up a little bit.
Yeah, I know like Ancient Mew is one that I referenced. I think things are held tighter now in the production facilities in those areas, but Ancient Mews clearly, when the movies were done and when thousands and thousands of these weren't distributed, somehow someone ended up with bricks of these because bricks of all the early promos are absolutely a thing. I mean, I've bought one myself. I know Rusty has shown and talked about a lot of his. Will bricks of these make it out there? Probably not in the same way WotC ones did, but it's absolutely a risk. If you're making a play on 1,000 of these, that would be factored into my calculation on like the risk profile of that play.
I think these becoming like an Ancient Mew would be a lot harder because Ancient Mews were all across the every movie theater had them. So it wasn't as controlled, where these are just in the Pokemon Center's warehouse. So there's a lot more control to it.
Yeah, you can have one guy go take him to the shredder, they're done and gone. Whereas with Ancient Mew, you might have had little, like I remember when I was growing up, there was a little mom and pop movie theater in town. And like, did they get a 1,000 count of them because Pokemon just didn't care? Like, even though only 20 people probably went to watch the movie there compared to some mega cinema. Yeah, like when you distribute to thousands of theaters across the country, very different dynamic in distribution. So that's a very, very good point. Let's see. Mr. Walrus hopes we get Magic 30th in Pokemon and they reprint all WotC but in silver borders. Interesting.
Oh.
Can Retro
I don't even
show...
really think that, like... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to read Ernesto's comment. Can Retro show some E-Series so I can rebuild my soul? But what were you going to say?
Just that, like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not as tapped in with Magic or whatever, but like, it'd be surprising if like Magic died. I mean, it already seems to be like on a little bit of shaky ground or whatever, but like, I don't think it's gonna change anything. And with Pokemon, like, they'd have to mess up so many times for this to ever get close to at least the way things stand right now. Like, none of these little incremental changes, I don't think, are going to have like any sorts of massive effects on, you know, how everybody enjoys the hobby next year. But, you know, maybe I'm smoking dust.
Old school, you want to take this one first from Bondo?
So just a quick question. What are your thoughts on the holiday advent calendar? Someone pointed out they are on TCGPlayer for $100. Cool concept for product and enjoy the interactive concept. Personally, I really don't like them. I think what you get inside is it's meant for kids, but I think they could have done better with what's inside. Just having a little snowflake on like an Ice Rider Calyrex V. I forget exactly what's in there, but some of the cards are just like garbage cards, and they could have put cooler cards in there. The packs are good. Having coins as certain days, I think that's pretty stupid. Including like those fun packs, I think that was terrible. Those you don't get anything in those packs. So personally, I don't like them. I know they were targeted at kids, so I'm sure kids appreciate them. Java, the fun packs aren't too fun. That's exactly it.
It's like fun size candy.
Exactly. No, it is a cool concept having like the advent calendar, but I think they could have put better stuff in for each day. I don't like what they put inside.
There's some E-Series for Nesta or E-Lotto.
Any thoughts on the question, Retro?
I haven't even seen the advent calendar, but I'm sure it's cute and kids everywhere are enjoying it this holiday season.
I know PK is doing like a series of shorts each day where he opens the product. I've not been watching them, but I've seen that he's posting them.
He doesn't make packs though. PK, if you're listening, you got to open the packs in those shorts too.
Oh, I haven't watched any, so I didn't even know that. But sorry, PK. I own the advent calendar, and I actually own, there's like a pop-up Christmas tree thing. When I was younger, I used to have an advent calendar that was like a big Santa, and he had 24 slots all the way leading up to Christmas. Very nostalgic part of my childhood. Going in, was it a quarter that day? Was it a piece of candy? Was it a pack of Pokemon cards? There was a couple years where Pokemon cards were present in that. It was like a DIY one my mom had for my sister and myself, and we have a similar thing for my kids. When I saw that product come out, I bought like 6 of them because I gave one for my kids, one for my like niece and nephew. I got a little crazy with it. I was gonna do one for each kid, but I have them split it because one gets the tree ornament, one gets the advent calendar itself. But my kids love it. Every single like when I'm done with work today in about 5 minutes, I'm gonna go up and my son's gonna be like, "Daddy, can we do the Pokemon stuff? Can we do the Pokemon stuff?" That is part of our ritual for all month long, and it is amazing. Like he is making some of the memories that I made with my advent calendar growing up, and I love that. He's like, "Is it gonna be a coin? Is it gonna be a booster pack? Is it gonna be like?" And then the days that it's like my daughter's turn, he's kind of hoping that it's something not as good. Because they alternate days, and one of them puts up like the other one I have because there's 24 starters. There's been eight generations, 3 starters each. So each day is a little ornament. There's a Piplup, there's a Charmander, there's all of them. And it's just funny, like my daughter sleeps every night with a sitting cutie of Piplup and a sitting cutie of Charmander. And just by chance, the 2 of the days that she picked, I think they were back to back even. She got the Piplup and she got the Charmander. And she was like excited to get the one of the sitting cutie that she sleeps with. Like, so I'm having amazing interactions as a consumer, as a father, with my children, with these advent calendars. So I have a huge soft spot for them. I have a couple extras that I'll probably just use next year unless they come out with a new one. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving these products as a consumer. I'm not doing anything business side, though I do have like some extras. I'm not gonna flip them for. It's kind of a weird thing to like sell them now. Like, why are people paying 100 when the year's already halfway through, and or the month's already halfway through, and you can't do as much with it? So yeah, I don't know.
Putting that free ornament in with orders from Pokemon Center for a while, like that was a genius move, right? Like it's free marketing, free advertising, right? Like everybody that's ordered from Pokemon Center in over the past couple months is gonna have probably like a Pikachu ornament on their tree for them and their entire families to see. So smart move, Pokemon.
Yeah, they did one last year too for around the special delivery Pikachu promotion, or was that last year or 2 years ago? I don't even remember. But I have a ton of Pokemon decorations because of that.
That's cool that like your kids are into it and stuff too, you know, like that you're not like forcing, but they're genuinely like stoked on it, you know, makes it easy for you. So
Oh, they love it. It's awesome. Yeah. And I think there's only one more question, so we're just gonna have to end on this because it is 428. What is on your guys' real life Christmas wish list this year?
For me, it's a few PlayStation games, Modern Warfare 2, Vanguard, Red Dead Redemption 2. Because I never had a PS4, so I never played that game. And Red Dead Redemption, the first one, was such a good game, so I can't wait for that. And then a new North Face jacket.
Man, there's a lot.
Red Dead Redemption 2, can confirm that game was awesome. Super fun for sure. Yeah,
I've
go
been
ahead.
I got the PS5 like a week ago, but I told my mom and sister I wouldn't buy any games, so they had something to get me for Christmas, and been dying to play something. So I better get something for Christmas.
Yeah. I asked for like a bunch of utilitarian stuff. I was like, oh yeah, I need like shipping supplies and like stuff like that. The one like fun thing I guess I asked for. Um there's this Japanese artist I really like, named Yoshitaka Amano, and on his website he has like numbered prints. So I asked for those, but that's about it. I like to get stuff I can use for the holidays. You know, like give me a Home Depot gift card because I'm gonna need to buy wood to build something, or you know, yeah. So that's what I usually go for. What about you, Dan?
I'm here wondering who you guys are giving these Christmas lists to, because I don't know. I'm not writing Christmas lists these days. I'm taking my kids' Christmas lists and doing some shopping, but no, I for I'm not a huge fan of like the gift exchanging part of Christmas, the consumer side of Christmas. I love getting together with family, having a good time, hanging out. Some circles that I'm in, we do like a Secret Santa type thing, so I just get one person to buy for, but I'm a bit of a Grinch on that perspective of Christmas, but my certain people insist on getting me gifts even though I don't want them. And it's like, here are the restaurants that I like, and then we get like experiences from them. Because if I ever need anything throughout the year, if I need something, I just buy it. I don't want to wait to get something. I don't want to like get something that I'm very particular about certain things. Like I don't want to just get some random thing and then have it be like not the optimal thing I would have bought when it comes to a tool that I need, or when it comes to like clothes that I want to wear. I don't know. So I'm kind of weird with that, but my mom always gets us like an annual membership to the local zoo, which is great for the family, great for like the kids and stuff. And so I get like experiences more, not a huge thing on like getting knickknacks or I don't know, anything like that. I just buy along the way. I don't like that angle of Christmas though. Just getting the whole consumerist side of it, where you just get things that you don't need, don't use, don't want, and yeah, a lot of waste around Christmas. Sorry to be such a Grinch.
I'm gonna buy the most useless thing and give it to you as a Christmas present. I gotta figure out what it is.
But yeah, that's it. I think we're gonna call it there. Thanks for coming on, Nick.
You're welcome.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I finally get a flipper on PokeFlipz.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, feel free to look for Nick's Instagram and YouTube. They're right there down in the description below. Go over to his YouTube, comment on the most recent video, tell him he needs to make more videos, because I'm constantly telling him that and he doesn't listen. The other Nick too, both Nicks here are not creating enough content. So let's see if we can get them to make more. That's what I want for Christmas from both of you. Make me some videos. Make me some content to consume. That's a gift you can give to everybody.
Well, school's out finally now for a couple weeks, so maybe can knock out some videos. It's like, I swear, dude, I've had like 3 different video ideas, and then I like wake up the next morning, check YouTube subscriptions, and like the title of your video is dude, I'm just like, oh, okay, like the one that was like the flippers versus investors, and like, I don't know. There's just been a lot of, and it's probably because we think really similarly, but yeah,
we can hear your takes though too. Like I don't own that whole thing. Like I won't feel like you've copied me. Make them. I'd like to hear other people's perspectives. We need it.
Yeah, no, I gotta stop making excuses and just make it. And Nick too, like I'm excited to see some more content from you. That breakdown on how you did your business was crazy. Like I think, yeah, I mean, you laid it out. It's just like not everybody's gonna have the ethic to be able to capitalize on that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I gotta get back into it for sure. That'll happen. That'll happen with the new year.
But yeah, we will.
But yeah, thanks Retro for coming on with us. Was a fun chat, and can't wait to see you again in Orlando.
Yeah, man, I'll have to spend more time with you guys. I felt like kind of torn in like a lot of different directions trying to spend time with people, but yeah, definitely want to hang out. I'll have to grab a beer, some lunch or something.
For sure.
Definitely.
And for everyone watching, we will next see you in 2 weeks. So it will be after Christmas. Hope everyone has a great time with family and friends and has an excellent Christmas. Hopefully you get everything on your wish list.
Hopefully Santa's good to you.
Yeah, hopefully you've been good all year. But with that, I think we will catch you all later.